Chapter 2736, If You Lose, I'll Marry You. 3. At this moment, he suddenly felt extremely fortunate. He was lucky that he had resisted the temptation of 10 million top-grade crystals and did not agree to Leng Ruoxu's one-on-one challenge. Otherwise, he might be in the same situation as Feng Yi. Patting Feng Yi's back, Bing Xiao comforted him silently. Seeing this, Tsang laid comfortably in Leng Ruoxu's arms and grinned, "Little Feng Yi, you can't leave me. You've forgotten that you lost to me, so you'll have to be my slave for the rest of your life." That's right. Thinking of this, Bing Xiao sympathized with Feng Yi even more. As for Feng Yi, he could not take this blow. His eyes rolled back and he fainted. But even when he fainted, Tsang still waved his claws and pulled Feng Yi over from Ice Cloud's side. He raised a small claw and said to Ice Cloud, "He can't leave, he belongs to me now." Bing Xiao nodded helplessly. He couldn't meddle in Feng Yi's affairs. "I want to know the whereabouts of our ancestor." Since things had come to this, Bing Xiao could only return to the main topic. "He's currently staying in the guest courtyard. If you want to see him, I can try to see if I can invite him out." Leng Ruoxue didn't make things difficult for Ice Cloud. "The old ancestor is still here?" Ice Cloud was shocked. "Of course." Leng Ruoxue nodded. That old Qilin wouldn't leave even if they were to chase it away. The truth was just as Leng Ruoxue had thought. When she had sent someone to invite Shui Mo, the answer she got was that His Excellency Shui Mo was not free. Ice Cloud also heard the report. After sighing helplessly, he requested, "I would like to meet the ancestor personally, is that possible?" "He's your family's ancestor, not my prisoner." "What's wrong with that?" Leng Ruoxue was helpless when she heard Bing Xiao's words. "Thank you." Bing Xiao was still very polite. "AI. Feng Yi had already died here, so how could he still be so rude?" Then, Leng Ruoxue personally brought Bing Xiao to Shui Mo's residence. Leng Ruoxue knocked on the door of Shui Mo's room. "Senior," he said. "Little girl, quickly come in." Hearing Leng Ruoxue's voice, Shui Mo was obviously very excited. When Leng Ruoxue brought Bing Xiao into the room, Shui Mo started explaining the formation he had just broken without a second word. Bing Xiao was completely ignored. Seeing that his ancestor didn't even notice him, Bing Xiao felt helpless. Now he finally knew why the old ancestor had not returned to the clan for so long. He was studying formations here. By the time Shui Mo and Leng Ruoxue finished their discussion on formations, the sky had already turned dark. At this moment, Shui Mo finally noticed the existence of Ice Cloud and asked in surprise, "Ice Cloud? When did you get here?" "Old ancestor, I came in with Miss Leng." Ice Cloud was speechless. "Oh. You're not as eye-catching as the little girl, no wonder I didn't see you." "But, what are you doing here?" Shui Mo asked in confusion. Bing Xiao was silent for a moment, then explained, "The clan saw that the ancestor had not returned for so long, so they sent Feng Yi and me to find out where the ancestor is." "You want to know my whereabouts? Don't tell me I'm going to lose it." Shui Mo was helpless when he heard this reason. He wasn't a 3-year-old child, did he have to keep such a close eye on him? "Ancestor, you know that the divine realm isn't peaceful." Bing Xiao was about to defend his clan but was interrupted by Shui Mo, "So what if it's not peaceful? I'm very safe here with the little girl. Even Rhyme doesn't dare to come here. At least not now, right, little girl?" Shui Mo turned to ask Leng Ruoxue. "Yes, the Ripple Witch is injured, so she won't be looking for trouble with me for the time being." "Of course, I don't plan on looking for trouble with her at the moment. We're like water from a well and water from a river." Leng Ruoxue nodded in agreement. "You heard that." Shui Mo proudly raised his head like Bing Xiao. Bing Xiao didn't know what to say. This old ancestor had always been willful and reckless, doing things as he pleased. Sometimes, it really made the clansmen feel helpless, but this old ancestor was extremely important regardless of his identity and status. He was also the other person that the Qilin clan had to protect other than their clan leader. Thanks, old ancestor. Bing Xiao wanted to say something, but Shueimo obviously didn't have time to deal with him. Since you've seen me, hurry up and leave. Don't delay my research on formations. With that, Shueimo went back to his own business. Bing Xiao had no choice but to leave Shueimo's room with Leng Ruoxue. When he returned to the living room, Bing Xiao was still sighing. Feng Yi, who was still in the living room, had been woken up. Seeing the ice cloud, Feng Yi couldn't help but cry again. What did he mean by a single misstep would result in eternal hatred? He was the best example. You say he's fine, but why is he looking down on this and that? Now, not only did he stir up a hornet's nest, but he also got himself in trouble. At this moment, he finally understood why Leng Ruoxue refused to agree to his proposal of marrying her if he lost. It turned out that she had already known about this. It was a pity that he was like a silly boy, jumping into a pit like this. Woo! He also understood what Uncle Long and the others were looking at him with sympathy for. But it was too late to understand now. Regret. He truly regretted it. He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Seeing Bing Xiao, Feng Yi pulled him over and asked in a low voice, "You didn't agree to fight that woman one-on-one, did you?" "I'm telling you, I suspect that she deliberately dug a hole for us to jump in." It had to be said that Feng Yi was still a good friend, and the Qilin race was indeed very united. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so concerned about what happened to Bing Xiao. Hearing this, Bing Xiao's mouth twitched. "Don't worry, I didn't agree to it." "That's good. What do I do? Please help me think of a way. I don't want to stay here, and I don't want to be a cat servant." Seeing that Bing Xiao was fine, Feng Yi recalled his tragic experience. "I think you should stay here for the time being." After thinking for a while, Ice Cloud said. "Ah. Why?" Feng Yi was a little angry. "Damn Ice Fiend, he's so disloyal. I care so much about him, but he wants me to stay here and work like a slave." "Woo. He didn't want to. The ancestor is here. It looks like you don't want to go back. It's good that you're staying here to serve old Grand Madam, and at the same time, you can bond with Leng Ruoxue and the others. Perhaps you'll be free when they're happy," Ice Cloud suggested. "It seems very reasonable." Feng Yi thought for a while before saying. "Do you think I would trick you?" Ice Cloud said in a bad mood. "How can that be? You're my best buddy, how could I leave you to die?" Feng Yi tried to please him. "Humph. At least you understand," Ice Cloud said, satisfied. "I understand. I understand." Feng Yi quickly agreed. After a short exchange, Bing Xiao easily convinced the originally unwilling Feng Yi. Then, he turned to Leng Ruoxue and said, "Miss Leng, since I know that the old ancestor is studying the array here, then I have nothing to worry about. I will take my leave and return to the clan first." "All right," he said. Leng Ruoxue nodded and personally sent Ice Cloud out of Demon City. As for Feng Yi, he could only watch as Ice Cloud left before he resigned himself to his fate and stayed behind. At first, Feng Yi had consoled himself by saying that he was willing to stay and not make a scene because of his ancestor. But when he really stayed, he was surprised to find that the days in Demon City were so blissful. There was delicious food every day, and all kinds of precious fruits were available. He could eat as much as he wanted. This kind of life was really so happy that he didn't think about home. The only flaw was that he could always hear miserable and painful screams in his room. After asking around, he found out that the screams were from Demon City's enemies. He became even more obedient after knowing that. In addition, although Tsang had won and wanted him to work like a horse for the rest of his life, Tsang clearly didn't have the mood to care about him. Thus, in a sense, he, Tsang's nominal servant, was basically a person who had nothing to do. As for Leng Ruoxue, ever since she sent Bing Xiao away, she had disappeared without a trace. It was said that she had gone into closed-door cultivation. 3 months later, the Qilin clan had sent their clansmen over again. But this time, it wasn't Bing Xiao, who they knew, but another unfamiliar man. In the living room, Uncle Long received the man and assessed his strength. He was speechless when he saw that he was another reverent god-level cultivator. Did the Qilin clan not have any other clansmen with strength? Why was it that every time someone came, it was a reverent god-level beast? Uncle Long couldn't figure it out, but he was too embarrassed to ask what the Qilin race meant, so he could only ask the man's purpose for coming. After hearing Uncle Long's words, the man took out an invitation card and handed it over with a smile. The Qilin clan has solemnly invited Miss Leng Ruoxue as a guest. Hearing this, Uncle Long was so surprised that he couldn't close his mouth. Did I hear wrong? The Qilin race, which had always kept a low profile and didn't like to have too much contact with people, actually invited little Shuai to be a guest? Although it was unexpected, Uncle Long felt that it was definitely a good thing. Although Shuai Mo and Feng Yi were both in Demon City, one of them was a formation fanatic and a foodie. Other than formations and food, he did not care about anything else. Feng Yi was even more stupid. He often offended people with his words and did not know how to read people's expressions. Therefore, it was better to visit the Qilin race personally than to have more contact with the two. The opportunity to go to the Qilin clan was definitely hard to come by. More importantly, unless the Qilin clan personally invited them, no one would have the chance to go to their base camp. If they had taken the initiative to ask for a visit, sorry, they would not have agreed at all. Humans aren't welcome in the first place, so how could I let you go home? Wasn't that just daydreaming? Chapter 2737 Devil's Forest 1. Thus, Uncle Long immediately agreed to the invitation and said that he would head to the Qilin clan's territory as soon as possible. However, the person from the Qilin race was obviously a little impatient. After knowing Uncle Long's plan, he said tactfully, "I don't think we should wait any longer. As the saying goes, it's better to come now than to choose a day. You guys should come with me now. Leave now." Uncle Long opened his mouth speechlessly and thought, isn't this a little too impatient? If they didn't know, wouldn't they suspect that they were up to no good? However, Uncle Long believed that the Qilin race wouldn't have any bad intentions. After all, the Qilin race had a good reputation in the divine realm. However, he was afraid that he would not be able to go along with the other party's wishes on this matter. After making up some words, Uncle Long said very vaguely, "Isn't it a little too rushed to leave now? We were not prepared at all. What are you all preparing for? I'll help you." The man was very enthusiastic. Uncle Long broke out in a cold sweat. Too enthusiastic, what the hell? This time, Uncle Long didn't dare to follow this guy to the Qilin clan immediately. Who knew what was going on there? As for the preparations, we can do it ourselves. However, Shuai is currently in closed-door cultivation. I don't know when she will come out. Uncle Long had no choice but to use this excuse. Then what do we do? The man's eyes widened and he looked at Uncle Long. We can only wait for her to come out of seclusion. Once she comes out, we will immediately head to the Qilin clan. Uncle Long promised. I see. It seems that I can only stay here for the time being. You want not welcome me when you set off together, right? The man said after thinking for a moment. No, you're welcome. Hearing that the man wanted to stay, Uncle Long could only feel helpless. That's good. By the way, can I see the ancestor? Everyone in our clan misses him. The man asked. Sir Shuai Mo has been studying formations. I don't know if he would want to see you. Uncle Long was in a difficult position. He couldn't make the decision for the old Qilin. It doesn't matter, you just have to bring me to his residence. The man said disapprovingly. That's not a problem, Uncle Long nodded and brought the man to Shuai Mo's house. When they arrived at Shuai Mo's room, Uncle Long was about to knock on the door when he heard an angry roar from the room, "Go away. Don't disturb me." As soon as he finished shouting, the door of the room opened with a whoosh. Then, Uncle Long and the man saw a man fly out from inside. Ugh! To be precise, he was thrown out. And this person was none other than Feng Yi, who had nothing to do all day. Thanks, Feng Yi was thrown out of the room in an extremely embarrassing position and landed in front of the man. Seeing a pair of feet suddenly appear in front of him, Feng Yi subconsciously raised his head. Then, his expression changed and he stood up from the ground with a whoosh. He roared, "Ice Cube, why are you here? How detestable!" This was so embarrassing. Feng Yi was very depressed. It was fine if someone saw his embarrassing state, but the person who saw it was his archenemy, which was something he couldn't accept. "I'm not called Ice Cube, please call me Ice Cloud, sire," the man said in all seriousness. "Bah! Why should I call you your excellency? We all have the same status in the clan," Feng Yi shouted. "Oh right, I forgot to tell you. Since last month, I've been appointed as the clan's chief steward. So, in terms of emotion and reason, I'm your immediate superior. You should call me your excellency," Bing Yun said with a faint smile. How is this possible?" When Feng Yi heard this bad news, he couldn't help but say with a pale face. "Nothing is impossible. You'll have a chance too. However, you'll have to wait until I become an elder in the clan." Bing Yun smiled and consoled him. Then, he seemed to have thought of something. "Look at my memory. How could I have forgotten? In the future, you will be a certain cat servant. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to serve the Qilin race anymore." My condolences. Your head." Feng Yi's face was filled with grief and indignation. He was so angry that he even cursed Bing Xiao. This despicable guy betrayed him. How could he tell his family about this? How was he going to be a Qilin in the future? Feng Yi felt that he was too embarrassed to face anyone. Sob. He had to try his best to draw circles to stop and curse them. "You're angry from embarrassment? By the way, your free fall posture just now was very good. It's obvious that you've practiced." Bing Yun did not care about Feng Yi's anger and continued to provoke him. As for Feng Yi, at this moment, his entire body was immersed in the anger and pain of being betrayed by Bing Xiao. He did not have the mood to respond to Bing Yun's words at all. Uncle Long watched the two Qilins bicker and mumbled to himself. It seems that even within the united race, there are still some seeds of discord. However, this was normal. After all, where there were humans and beasts, there would always be trouble, not to mention that it was a race with such a long history. However, the tactful Uncle Long clearly did not intend to get involved in the battle between the two Qilins. Therefore, after greeting Bing Yun and Feng Yi, he retreated with self-awareness. The moment Uncle Long left, Bing Yun immediately kicked Feng Yi's butt, who was completely immersed in his own thoughts and exuded a faint sorrow. He even said with a look of disdain, "Look at your disgraceful appearance. How could our Qilin clan have such a stupid fellow like you?" Bing Yun had an expression of disappointment. Feng Yi suddenly came back to his senses and roared even more angrily, "What about me? How am I stupid? You think you're the only smart one? You're smarter than a fox, okay?" After roaring, Feng Yi no longer wanted to pay attention to Bing Yun. He turned his back to him and sat down on the stone chair in the courtyard, continuing to exude his sorrowful aura. Bing Yun was speechless. Not seeing him for several days, this guy's temper had grown. Sighing lightly, Bing Yun controlled his temper and walked behind Feng Yi. He nudged him and said, "Hey, let me ask you, how long has Leng Ruoxua been in closed-door cultivation?" "Why should I tell you?" Feng Yi turned his head and replied angrily. "Don't you want to return to the Qilin clan?" "To tell you the truth, I'm here today to invite Leng Ruoxua to the Qilin clan as a guest. Once she's there, you can go back with her, right?" Bing Yun reminded. "So what if I go back?" "I can't do anything right now." Feng Yi seemed even sadder when he heard this. In fact, it didn't matter to him whether he went back or not. In this place, he could eat well, live well, and eat well. He had long gotten along with everyone. During this period of time, he had been free and unfettered. So, if he really had to live here for the rest of his life, he didn't mind. In addition, to be honest, this place was really not bad. The only bad thing was that every time he went to see the old ancestor would find him annoying and kick him out of the room. Chapter 2738, Devil's Forest, 2, AI. And this time, he had been seen by his archenemy, which was the biggest source of his sorrow. If you don't go back, are you really planning to work for a cat for the rest of your life? Hearing Feng Ye's words that seemed to give up his freedom, Bingyun asked, not giving up. If you're willing to bet, you must accept your loss. What could he do? Unless you can defeat that cat and redeem me. Feng Ye said with anticipation. After saying this, he really cheered for his own idea. Hee. How could he be so smart? If Bingyun also lost to that cat, wouldn't no one in the clan dare to laugh at him? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that his idea was simply too great. If he didn't have to hide his excitement, Feng Ye would have jumped up and cheered. But would Bingyun fall for his trick? He only heard Bingyun say with a serious look, I can't agree to this matter so easily. What if I lose my freedom like you? Fortunately, you lost to a cat. If you had lost to a human, you would have become his contracted beast. So, this was really a blessing in misfortune. You should be content. Seeing that his rival did not take the bait, Feng Ye was not angry. Anyway, this guy had always been more cunning than him. It was not easy to trick him once. So, he stood up and walked out of the yard. Wait, you haven't told me how long Len Ruoxue has been in closed-door cultivation. Seeing that Feng Ye was about to leave, Bingyun quickly called out to him. However, Feng Ye didn't even turn his head, only his voice was heard. If you don't think of a way to save me, don't even think of me telling you about Len Ruoxue. Bingyun didn't expect Feng Ye to throw such a tantrum. This was really... He was speechless. Seeing that Feng Ye's back was out of sight, he could only leave Shui Mo's residence and go to find Uncle Long. When Uncle Long saw that Bingyun had come to find him, he didn't ask how his discussion with Feng Ye went and directly arranged a place for him to stay. At Bingyun's request, his residence was arranged to be next to Feng Ye's. When Feng Ye found out about this, he immediately protested against living with this guy. Uncle Long ignored Feng Ye's words and quickly left the two Qilins' territory. Out of sight, out of mind. As for how much trouble the two Qilins could cause, it was their business. After all, they had to compensate for the things they had destroyed. Therefore, he was not worried at all. After watching Uncle Long leave, the two Qilins stared at each other. And their residence was as lively as Uncle Long had imagined every day. However, no matter how much they fought, they didn't dare to break anything here. Otherwise, they really couldn't afford to pay. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, Bingyun had also lived here for several months. However, after waiting for so long, Len Ruoxue still had not come out of her closed-door cultivation. Bingyun truly could not wait any longer. Even if he had good food, good accommodation, and people to fight with him every day. However, thinking that the clan was still waiting for old ancestor to return, Bingyun felt as if grass had grown in her heart, unable to sit still. Finding Uncle Long, Bingyun asked directly, how much longer until Len Ruoxue comes out of her closed-door cultivation? Thanks, it should be soon. Uncle Long replied after some thought. In reality, Shuer had not been in closed-door cultivation at all. That girl had always been in the spatial space refining pills and forging weapons with Chief Elder and the others. He had also told Shuer Binjian's intentions for coming. However, after talking about Binjian's anxiousness before, Shuer thought the same as him. The Qilin clan was so anxious, there was probably some hidden story. This way, both he and Shuer were not in a hurry to go to the Qilin clan. However, after observing for a few months, Uncle Long felt that the Qilin clan must have sent an invitation to Shuer because they wanted to use Shuer's name to trick their ancestor into going back. Otherwise, if this continued, the Qilin clan's ancestor might really end up growing up here. It was precisely because he had seen through the intentions of the Qilin clan that Uncle Long didn't use Shuai'er's seclusion as an excuse. More importantly, they had delayed for so long and it was indeed time for them to head to the Qilin clan. After all, this was a rare opportunity. That's great, but I don't know how long it'll take. The moment Bingyun heard, he clearly heaved a sigh of relief. But in reality, he really wanted to cry. It really wasn't easy for him to have been looking forward to this. 5 days later. Leng Ruoxue had come out of her closed-door cultivation openly. When Bingyun saw the famous Leng Ruoxue, he almost burst into tears. This little ancestor had finally come out. Sobs. It seemed like the heavens were still kind to him. Otherwise, if Leng Ruoxue were to go into closed-door cultivation for a few hundred or 1,000 years, he would have to wait until he was a daylily. However, when Leng Ruoxue saw Bingyun's teary eyes, she was shocked. Ugh! Did it have to be so exaggerated? Bingyun's first words upon seeing Leng Ruoxue was not a self-introduction, but instead, "Come with me." As expected, Leng Ruoxue's face turned pale from fright. Did the Qilin clan always do things in such a bold manner? You want to snatch someone in broad daylight? After 3 seconds of silence, Leng Ruoxue pretended to be calm and said, "Bingyun, don't be anxious. We have to pack our things before we can head to the Qilin clan. What's there to clean up? You can just follow me. I've been waiting for you for so long, and the clan has also been waiting for several months. Everyone is anxious to see you." Bingyun grumbled. As he spoke, his resentful eyes were still wandering around Leng Ruoxue's body. "I have to prepare some gifts. I can't go to the Qilin clan empty-handed," Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. She had long heard from Uncle Long that the Qilin clan's Bingyun was an impatient person. At that time, she was still thinking about how anxious she would be. Now, she finally experienced it. This really wasn't an ordinary kind of anxiousness. No need. Bingyun only reacted fiercely after he rejected her. Then, he asked with his eyes wide open, "You said prepare a gift? To the Qilin clan?" "Yes, I am." Leng Ruoxue smiled and nodded. "Actually, there's no need to specially prepare anything. Just bring some of your medicinal pills, fruits, and the like." Bingyun gave his opinion. "All right. Since Mr. Hail Cloud has such a request, I will naturally satisfy it. However, there should be quite a number of people from the Qilin clan. How many should I prepare?" Leng Ruoxue probed. 100 will do," Bingyun said directly. "Even if it's 100 portions, it'll take 2 to 3 days to prepare. Shall we leave the day after tomorrow?" Leng Ruoxue asked again. Then. "All right." Bingyun was a little unwilling, but he changed his mind. They were preparing gifts for the Qilin clan. It wouldn't be good if they didn't give them enough time. In any case, they had already waited for several months, so it wouldn't make a difference of 2 or 3 days. Then, he couldn't help but add, "Miss Leng, please tell old Grand Madam about this. Don't you know, Sir Shuimo?" Leng Ruoxue blinked her eyes and asked in disbelief. She was truly suspicious of what this Qilin had been doing for the past few months. Senior Shuimo didn't even know about this small matter. Chapter 2739, Devil's Forest, 3, The old ancestor didn't even give me a chance to speak, Bingyun said with a face full of hidden bitterness. Every time he met the old ancestor would despise him for wasting his time, and then he would receive the same treatment as Fengyi. He had been here for a few months, so he and Fengyi didn't have to laugh at each other. "I got it," Leng Ruoxue said with some sympathy. "Miss Leng, please persuade old Grand Madam to return with us," Bingyun begged. "I'll try," Leng Ruoxue replied helplessly. In reality, she felt that Bingyun had thought too highly of herself. Even the people of the Qilin clan could not move Shuemo. What use would an outsider like her have? However, to her surprise, when she went to see Shuemo and told him that she was going to the Qilin clan 2 days later, Shuemo said that he would go with her without her asking. When Leng Ruoxue heard Shuemo's words, she was speechless. "I'm obviously going to your house, okay?" Why did it become accompanying her back? He wondered if the Qilin clan would cry if they knew that their ancestor had such thoughts about going home. However, she did not let down Bingyun's trust and completed the mission. Leng Ruoxue then told Bingyun the good news. Bingyun was so touched that she was about to cry again. Seeing how excited the other party was, she didn't even dare to tell Bingyun. "Your family's old ancestor said that he'll accompany me." The 3 days that Bingyun had been looking forward to had finally come. He had gone to the living room early in the morning to wait for Leng Ruoxue and the rest to gather and set off. 2 days ago, when the master of the Ning family and the rest found out that they had a chance to go to the Qilin clan, they were all very interested in going with them to broaden their horizons. However, the few reverent god-level experts definitely could not all go. In the end, after a long period of research, Leng Ruoxue's side finally sent out a suitable candidate. For this trip to the Qilin clan, Leng Ruoxue only brought Uncle Long and her godfather. Among the beasts, only Baby, Mei, Yan, Yu, and Ling were with her. This time, she didn't even bring Azure. Apart from staying at home to keep watch, Azure had also been teaching the blood lotus flower how to control its aura, so it naturally couldn't leave at will. Apart from Uncle Long, Godfather and the 5 little beasts, Shuemo and Feng Yi would also go back. Without Tsang's group, everyone's speed of travel was naturally much slower. Moreover, the Qilin race was located in a large canyon at the southernmost part of the immortal realm. Its geographical location was relatively remote and was surrounded by mountains. There were also many forests that acted as barriers, blocking the traffic between the outside world and the large canyon. Therefore, when they were near the Great Canyon, their speed would be even slower. Of course, these were all told to Leng Ruoxue by the 3 Qilins. When they arrived at the forest that led to the entrance of the Grand Canyon, Leng Ruoxue realized that the other party's words were not exaggerated at all. In fact, they were reserved. As she looked at the huge tree that towered into the clouds, Leng Ruoxue felt that no words could beat the fact that it was right in front of her. Originally, Leng Ruoxue had suggested to fly over, but her suggestion was unanimously despised by the 3 Qilins. In the words of the Qilins, don't think about saving time for everything. To them, passing through such a forest is also a way of cultivation training. Therefore, they couldn't fly. Otherwise, you would be looked down upon by the Qilin race, even if you were an invited guest. Since the other party had already said so, Leng Ruoxue naturally could only do as the host pleased. After that, she followed the 3 Qilins into the forest that was filled with giant trees. Uncle Long and Master Ning chose to bring up the rear. As they walked into the forest, Leng Ruoxue and the rest, who had never been here before, were shocked to realize that the forest was much bigger than they had imagined. "Little girl, this is the legendary Devil Forest." As they walked, Shuemo suddenly turned around and said, "Devil's Forest?" Leng Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with question marks. "Shuer, this place is called the Devil Forest because the weather here has always been unpredictable." The master of the Ning family, who knew the meaning of the Devil Forest, explained. However, Leng Ruoxue clearly didn't understand. She still looked at her godfather shamelessly. "It's clear sky now, right? Maybe the weather will change in a while." The master of the Ning family explained. As soon as he finished speaking, as if in response to his words, the cloudless sky suddenly became covered with dark clouds. The sky also instantly darkened, accompanied by rumbling thunder and lightning. In the blink of an eye, it was as if a hole had been opened in the sky, and a storm was about to fall. Leng Ruoxue finally experienced the unpredictable weather in the Devil's Forest. "Is it going to rain? Let's take shelter from the rain," Leng Ruoxue suggested when she noticed that the weather was bad. However, Shuemo and the other 2 Qilins objected and said, don't worry, it won't rain. It never rains in the Devil Forest. It's not raining. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. If it didn't rain in this damned weather, why would they use knives? Thanks, be careful, everyone. Suddenly, Shui Mo reminded them loudly and the three of them transformed into their true forms. In an instant, 3 mighty and domineering Qilins appeared in front of Leng Ruoxue's group of 3 humans and 5 beasts. There were 3 Qilins. One was water blue, one was green, and one was ice blue. After transforming into their true forms, the 3 behemoths were exactly the same, except for their different colors. Their bodies were covered with scales, and long hair hung from the gaps between the scales to the ground, making them look even more powerful and beautiful. However, this way, it would be difficult for Leng Ruoxue to distinguish who was who. Even though it was very difficult to distinguish the 3 Qilins, the green Qilin still laughed evilly and deliberately lowered its voice. Guess who we are? Leng Ruoxue broke out in cold sweat. How was she supposed to guess? They all look the same. Other than the difference in color. Leng Ruoxue closed her beautiful eyes and opened them again. She pointed at the green Qilin with certainty and said, "You're definitely Feng Yi." How did you know? Feng Yi's eyes widened in disbelief as he asked in a daze. Because other than you, Senior Shui Mo and Ice Cloud wouldn't be so bored. Leng Ruoxue said matter-of-factly. Hearing her words, Feng Yi was completely depressed. Boo-hoo. That bad girl's words were a huge blow to Qilin. Shui Mo and Bing Yun couldn't help but laugh. After he was done laughing, Shui Mo reminded him, "Little girl, you must be careful. This place is going to be dangerous soon." Even though Shui Mo did not say it explicitly, Leng Ruoxue still nodded her head seriously. Not long after, when the forest was completely dark, Leng Ruoxue and the rest suddenly noticed a fire flickering in the distance. "They're here," Shui Mo reminded. When Leng Ruoxue, Uncle Long, and the master of the Ning family heard this, they immediately took out their weapons and entered a combat state. The 5 little beasts also rubbed their fists and wiped their palms, ready to have a good fight with the dangers in the Devil Forest. As the firelight slowly approached, Leng Ruoxue suddenly realized that these were not firelight at all, but countless fireflies. Perhaps they could not be called fireflies, because these small insects were not only much bigger than fireflies, but also not as cute as fireflies. More importantly, these crustacean-type bugs that were the size of an adult's fist and had flames burning on their bodies were not only aggressive, but they also looked even fiercer. Leng Ruoxue could even hear the sound of them grinding their teeth. However, at this moment, it seemed like she didn't have the chance to ask what this thing was. Seeing that the other party had a flame, Leng Ruoxue didn't want to be outdone and flashed her own natal flame. The moment her flames appeared, the group of fire bugs seemed to instinctively cower. However, the group of bugs did not retreat. Instead, they all flew towards Leng Ruoxue's direction. "Shui, be careful." The master of the Ning family saw that these insects seemed to be more interested in Shui and couldn't help but remind them worriedly. "Godfather, take care of yourselves," Leng Ruoxue replied. Then, her beautiful eyes were fixed on the group of insects that were like moths flying into the fire. As they neared, the orderly group of insects hesitated for a moment before flying towards the flame in Leng Ruoxue's hand. In an instant, the insects had Leng Ruoxue completely surrounded. How did this happen? Shui Mo and the other 2 Qilins were surprised. These bugs had always been watching them closely, but they had obviously changed their target this time. The insects' unexpected actions had also caused them to lose the best opportunity to help Leng Ruoxue. This made the 3 gigantic creatures deeply regret their decision. However, the 3 Qilins still charged towards the fire regardless of the consequences. They tried to disperse the group of insects and save Leng Ruoxue. Arg! It's so hot. As soon as he reached the flames, Feng Yi was scared by the extremely high temperature of the flames and retreated. Shui Mo and Bing Yun also tried, but they couldn't get close due to the heat. The bug's flames seemed to be especially powerful today. The three Qilins couldn't understand why. However, they had to save Leng Ruoxue. After all, Leng Ruoxue was a guest that they had invited. If she were to die in the Devil Forest, how would the Qilin clan have the face to continue living in the God world? With this in mind, the three Qilins were a little desperate. They were going all out today. However, just as they were about to move again, a little white fox stood in front of them. "Little fox, move aside. We're here to save your master," Shui Mo said. "Master is fine," Mei Jin said honestly. "How can she be fine? Leng Ruoxue is already surrounded by flames. Don't block it, quickly move away, your master might be gnawed clean by the soul-devouring insects later." Feng Yi didn't understand why this snow fox, who had always given people the impression of being very understanding, was suddenly so stubborn today. Wasn't this delaying them from saving people? "You bastard! You're the one who'll be gnawed clean by those damn soul-devouring bugs. Even if something happens to you, my master will be fine." Hearing Feng Ye's words, Baby Fire shouted. It didn't care what kind of noble Qilin it was. He could not say that his cute master would be in trouble. Chapter 2740 Black-Bellied Shui Mo 1. The treasure's protector made Feng Yi so depressed that he was about to cry. He didn't seem to have said anything too overboard. They only hoped that these little fellows, who cared about their master, would not delay their rescue of Leng Ruoxue. Who knew that they would actually provoke them? Feng Yi truly felt that he was innocent. Although his words were a little harsh, they were the truth. Why was telling the truth so unlikable these days? The worried Feng Yi kept sighing in his heart. At this moment, he suddenly widened his eyes and revealed an expression of disbelief. Oh my God! What did it see? Leng Ruoxue, who was previously surrounded by the flames, was now engulfed in flames. However, in the next instant, the flames that filled the sky were suddenly extinguished. Leng Ruoxue appeared in front of them, safe and sound. The soul-devouring worms that were surrounding her had disappeared without a trace. Where are the bugs? Feng Yi was filled with question marks. "Shui, it's good that you're fine." Shui Mo noticed Leng Ruoxue's condition and asked with concern. "I'm fine, but those bugs are so powerful," Leng Ruoxue said with lingering fear. If it wasn't for the power of her flames, she would have become the food of those insects. Yup. Those are soul-devouring insects, and they especially like to devour the soul and body of humans or beasts. That's why humans and beasts in the outside world are afraid of the Devil Forest. Except for our Qilin clan, no beasts or humans dare to approach this place. Shui Mo explained. He had taken the initiative to say that he would come back with Leng Ruoxue because he had considered the power of the soul-devouring insect and wanted to protect Leng Ruoxue. Who knew that this little girl would deal with the insect herself? At this moment, Shui Mo's evaluation of Leng Ruoxue rose even higher. Then, Shui Mo thought for a while and said, "Little girl, although these soul-devouring insects are very powerful, they are of utmost importance to our Qilin clan. With them, they are definitely a guarantee for our Qilin clan. Even Wu Xian doesn't dare to rashly set foot here because these soul-devouring insects don't have any intelligence and act only on instinct. Any living creature that passed by their territory would be seen as food. As for our Qilin clan, other than viewing them as a barrier, they are also the training targets for the younger generation of our clan. However, the soul-devouring insects are quite ferocious, so we are very careful when arranging for the younger generation to gain experience. As for the adult Qilin, it is already used to the existence of these small insects, but when facing them, we sometimes feel very annoyed, but we can't do it without them." Shui Mo had said all this to explain to Leng Ruoxue the necessity of these insects' existence. It could be said that with these insects, the Qilin clan would be much safer. As for walking through this place, it was more for training. The other important reason was that the Qilin clan also wanted to test Leng Ruoxue's courage. Of course, this reason could not be stated clearly. However, Leng Ruoxue was not stupid. From the vigilance of Shui Mo and the other two Qilins, she knew that these insects were very troublesome. Furthermore, the three of them were determined to walk despite knowing that the insects were very troublesome. This explained the problem. However, Leng Ruoxue believed that the other party had no intention of harming her. It was probably because the other party thought that he could protect her. But from the looks of it now, there must have been an accident. Otherwise, the other party would not have been so surprised when he saw that the insect seemed to be more interested in her. Although she had been surrounded by the bugs, she was still clear about what was happening outside. Those soul-devouring bugs were killed by my flames. Are you all right? Leng Ruoxue asked calmly after hearing Shui Mo's words. Thanks, I'm fine. Hearing this, Shui Mo's mouth twitched uncontrollably. He thought to himself, if those bugs could be killed so easily, they wouldn't have coexisted with the Qilin clan for so many years. He was really curious how Leng Ruoxue did it. However, it felt that Leng Ruoxue had just suffered a shock, so it was better not to ask about this now. However, Feng Yi could not wait any longer. It looked at Leng Ruoxue with a face of disbelief. With its mouth half open, it asked, "The soul-devouring insects are really dead? How did you do it? You don't believe me? Why don't you catch me some soul-devouring insects and I'll show you?" Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. "Ah. I believe you, all right. Then can you tell me how you killed them?" Feng Yi asked, speechless. "He was burned to death by fire," Leng Ruoxue said honestly. But Feng Yi, the Qilin, still didn't believe it. "Fire? Don't joke around, it's not like there aren't fire Qilin in their race, but I've never seen their flames effective on the soul-devouring insects. Otherwise, the soul-devouring insects would not have been able to survive for so long." "You don't believe me?" Leng Ruoxue asked with an evil smile when she saw the thoughts on Feng Yi's face. "Ah. Are your flames really that powerful?" Feng Yi didn't believe it. This was too unreal. "Do you want to try my flame?" As she spoke, a small and exquisite purple-red flame appeared on Leng Ruoxue's fair and tender fingertips. The dazzling flame made her fingertips look exceptionally beautiful. "No, no need." Feng Yi, who could feel the heat of the small flame from far away, felt that he was not that stupid to test the fire with his own body. However, the vengeful baby obviously didn't want to let go of this stupid Kirin who once suspected that its master would be in danger. It smiled evilly and provoked, "Cute master, this Qilin almost ruined your plan." "Humph. It actually cursed you to be gnawed clean by the soul-devouring insects and still wanted to save you. It really overestimated its own strength. If we didn't stop it from rushing over, I'm afraid it would have been burned to ashes by now." Leng Ruoxue was silent. It seemed that Feng Yi's words about her being gnawed clean by the soul-devouring bugs had clearly angered the vengeful baby. However, her baby was her little beast, so she naturally had to stand on her baby's side unconditionally. Hence, as soon as her baby finished speaking, her unfriendly eyes landed on Feng Yi. Sob. Feng Yi felt so wronged that he wanted to cry. It clearly had good intentions and wanted to save Leng Ruoxue. How could that detestable little fox say that about it? Curse? You bastard. Who did it curse? Who would curse in front of the person involved? Did they really think it was stupid? However, Leng Ruoxue clearly believed her little beastie's instigations and this made Feng Yi feel extremely aggrieved. Can you not be like this? This was killing the donkey when the grinding was done. No, he wanted to kill the Qilin. You can't do this. I clearly didn't mean it that way. After being wronged for a while, Feng Yi said with obvious lack of confidence. Humph. You're cursing my adorable master. The baby still didn't want to let Feng Yi go. Woo-woo. You can't bully a Qilin like this. Seeing that he couldn't get his hands on the treasure, Feng Yi simply wailed. He was crying and rolling on the ground. One must know that this was a new move that it had learned from Leng Ruoxue's beasts. It had used it today, and it had not learned it for nothing. Chapter 2741, Black-Bellied Shuemo, 2. On the surface, Feng Yi looked like he was crying very sadly, but in his heart, he was very satisfied with his own adaptability. If he had continued to argue with his opponent, he would have definitely lost. Feng Yi was proud of his wit, but his face darkened when he saw Shuemo and Bing Yun like this. This was too embarrassing, wasn't it? Do you have to embarrass the Qilin clan like this? Or do you think that you've already become someone else's servant, so you don't need to care about the Qilin race's reputation anymore? Thinking here, Bing Yunhao ruthlessly kicked Feng Yi's huge body. His foot just happened to land on his butt and sent him flying. Arg! Bing Yun, you bastard! Following this sentence, a thump was heard as an object landed on the ground and disappeared from Leng Ruoxue and the other's sight. I'm sorry, I've made a fool of myself. Bing Yun finished all of this very calmly, then said to Leng Ruoxue and the rest with a smile. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. Uncle Long and the master of the Ning family were starting to pity Feng Yi, that old Qilin. In fact, from an outsider's point of view, that old Qilin really didn't say anything that was too much. Even though what it said before wasn't pleasant to the ears, it was only because it was worried about that little girl Shuai. More importantly, the Qilin didn't know how powerful Shuai's flame was. As the saying goes, one can't blame those who didn't know, so they really felt that the Qilin wasn't unforgivable. However, the reality was clear. Shuai was standing on his little beastie's side. As such, they naturally could not help outsiders. After mourning for Feng Yi for 3 minutes, Uncle Long took the initiative to change the topic and asked, now that the soul-devouring insects have been eliminated, can we continue moving forward? Shuemo nodded. Even though he was surprised that Leng Ruoxue could kill the soul-devouring bugs, there was no need to waste any more time here. However, Feng Yi had not returned yet. If he left now, wouldn't he be left here alone? To be honest, it was a little worried about Feng Yi's carefree personality. However, just as it was thinking this, it heard a weak voice in its ear. Woo-woo. You guys are really bullying the honest Qilin. As soon as he finished speaking, a blue Kirin with a swollen face appeared in front of everyone. Leng Ruoxue and the rest glanced at Feng Yi's new image and were worried about his low intelligence. Where did she fall? Why is your face so swollen? How did you end up like this? I didn't kick too hard. Bing Yun, who was the most surprised, directly asked what everyone was thinking. You didn't kick me hard, but you kicked me into a hornet's nest, woo, Feng Yi roared. After that, he started crying without caring about his image. This time, Bing Yun miraculously didn't find it embarrassing. Instead, she looked at Feng Yi, who was crying very sadly, with a face full of guilt, not knowing how to comfort him. Leng Ruoxue and the rest who were watching from the side were all very sympathetic towards Feng Yi. Baby even took the initiative to say out of kindness, how tragic. AI. Seeing that you're already so pitiful, I won't hold it against you for cursing my lovely master. But you have to remember, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Do you know what it means to get into trouble from the mouth? It's referring to your previous appearance. Baby's words were very meaningful and Feng Yi nodded his head repeatedly. However, no one knew if it would remember. However, Feng Yi's danger was finally over. After that, everyone continued on their way. On the way, as the host, Bing Yun kept consoling Leng Ruoxue, the 3 humans, and the 5 beasts, don't worry, the soul-devouring insects shouldn't appear again. Under normal circumstances, they only appear once a day. However, just as it finished speaking, Leng Ruoxue, the 3 humans, 5 beasts, and the 2 Qilins, Shuemo and Feng Yi, heard a buzzing sound from afar. Then, countless flames came closer and surrounded them from all directions. Thanks, it seems like the soul-devouring insects are working overtime today. Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but tease them when she saw how nervous they were. Don't joke around, okay? Bing Yun said gloomily. He had just said that the soul-devouring bugs would not appear, and now they had appeared in large numbers all around. Wasn't this a slap to his face? Bing-yun was very angry, and the consequences were very serious. An ice-blue qilin was charging in the direction of the fire with a monstrous rage. When Leng Ruoxue saw this, she couldn't help but worry. It's okay for it to be so impulsive, right? It's alright, we're already used to it. Feng Yi said without a care. With regards to its words, Leng Ruoxue truly felt that Feng Yi was taking the opportunity to take revenge. Detestable. Your target should be me. Suddenly, Bing Yun's furious roar came from afar. Everyone did not know what was going on. They looked up and suddenly realized that those soul-devouring bugs that usually liked qilin had actually passed by Bing Yun's side at this moment and were flying in their direction. What's going on? Why didn't that ice block even attract a single soul-devouring bug? The soaring flames made Feng Yi, who was in disbelief, feel a little confused. This didn't make sense. It shouldn't be like this. Little girl, they seem to be coming for you. Shui Mo, who felt that something was wrong, couldn't help but remind him. Yes, it's very likely that he's here to take revenge on me. Leng Ruoxue replied calmly. After some thought, she asked, Senior Shui Mo, if I accidentally destroy your barrier and your opponent, your qilin race won't blame me, right? Shui Mo couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead and said, it's more important to save your life. In fact, it really wanted to say that the soul-devouring insects could not be exterminated because these insects had a very short lifespan. Even if they did not kill the soul-devouring insects, when the time was up, these small insects would still die, and new soul-devouring insects would be born in the Devil's Forest at that time. This was also the privilege that nature had given to the Devil's Forest. However, Shui Mo didn't dare to tell Leng Ruoxue this. He was afraid that it would be his fault if he caused Leng Ruoxue too much pressure. However, Leng Ruoxue had nothing to worry about since Shui Mo's life was more important. Godfather, Uncle Long, and my baby, stay away from me and protect yourselves. Leng Ruoxue ordered. When Uncle Long, Master Ning, and the 5 little beasts heard Leng Ruoxue's words, they tactfully distanced themselves from her and pulled away the 2 qilins that wanted to help. Shui Mo did not have any objections to this because he clearly realized that Leng Ruoxue was more powerful than he had imagined. However, Feng Yi was not tactful and thought that they were not loyal. How can you do this? We're partners. Feng Yi shouted. Shut up. Don't cause any trouble for my cute master. Treasure was furious and couldn't take it anymore. Chapter 2742, Black-Bellied Shui Mo, 3. Feng Yi felt wronged and mumbled, how can you say that I'm causing trouble? I only wanted to help. It hurts my self-esteem. Feng Yi truly felt that he had never been so despised in his long life. But now, in front of Leng Ruoxue and the others, he obviously had no status. This fact made him so sad that he wished he could buy a piece of tofu and knock his head on it. However, it was obvious that no human or beast cared about what it thought. Treasure was even more direct and said in an unpleasant tone, if you help, you'll only be causing trouble for my master, so just stay here. Don't get in the way. Baby's disdainful eyes and tone made Feng Yi so depressed that he couldn't refute. Shui Mo looked at him sympathetically but didn't say anything. It didn't want people to think that it was on the same level as Feng Yi, as that would lower its intelligence. At this moment, Bing Yun, who had been chasing after the flames, also came back dejectedly. Glancing at Leng Ruoxue, who was already surrounded by flames, Bing Yun wanted to help her for a moment. However, when he saw that the other humans and beasts were watching from the side, he gave up. Woo! It was obvious that Leng Ruoxue had a way to deal with those insects. Furthermore, her methods were rather brutal and intense. It was definitely not on the same level as his gentle methods. Yes. Compared to Leng Ruoxue, Bing Yun truly felt that his attack methods were too gentle. It was just that he could not understand why those bugs were like moths to a flame, targeting Leng Ruoxue. It could tell that the soul-devouring insects were still afraid of Leng Ruoxue's flames. However, they still charged forward without a care. This left it puzzled no matter how much it thought about it. Not long after, the huge number of soul-devouring insects were burned into dust by Leng Ruoxue's powerful flames and dissipated into the air. As for Leng Ruoxue, she was still safe and sound. This scene caused Feng Yi to widen his eyes helplessly. This was too unscientific. The soul-devouring insects that they had a hard time dealing with had become so fragile in front of Leng Ruoxue. They were even burned to ashes like trash. What kind of flame was this? How could he be so powerful? Was he seeing things? Feng Yi rubbed his eyes hard. The soul-devouring bugs were really gone. Let's continue. Ignoring Feng Yi's shocked expression, Leng Ruoxue said calmly. Shueimo nodded and asked as they walked, "Little girl, is that your life flame?" "Yes, I am." Leng Ruoxue replied honestly. "It's really powerful. I'm afraid even the Phoenix tribe's southern spirit leaf fire can't compare." Shueimo said. "Of course I can't." Before Leng Ruoxue could reply, Darling spoke with a sense of pride. "Baby, we have to be humble. Even if you can't compare to us, you can't say it so directly, understand? I have to find a chance to prove it." Leng Ruoxue said in all seriousness. "I know, cute master." Baby was very obedient and said. Hearing the conversation between the two master beasts, even the calm Shueimo was speechless. To be humble? He still had to find an opportunity to prove it. Didn't that mean that they were going to cause trouble for the Feng clan? AI. The poor Phoenix clan. Why did he provoke this little girl? Shueimo felt sorry for the Phoenix King in his heart. He felt sorry for them, but he had no intention of interfering in the conflict between Leng Ruoxue and the Phoenix clan. It was none of the Qilin clan's business anyway. If the Phoenix clan wanted to die, they could just go ahead. Although they were all the four king beasts and the Qilin clan had been cultivating for the past 10,000 years, Shueimo knew everything about Leng Ruoxue and the conflict between her and the other three king beasts. However, her status as Master Ye's disciple was enough for Shueimo to stand on her side. With this thought, Shueimo naturally found Leng Ruoxue pleasing to the eye. He started to look down on the other three families who were also part of the four great beast kings. Everyone continued to walk forward. After walking for who knows how long, Bing Yun suddenly opened his mouth and said, "After this, we'll be out of the Devil Forest." Woo, this was great. The Devil Forest was such a ghostly place that hurt its pride. It didn't want to stay a moment longer. "Did you hear something?" Just as Bing Yun's words fell, Leng Ruoxue asked again. "Thanks, no, I didn't. What's wrong?" Bing Yun blinked his eyes in surprise, his face blank and ignorant. "I think I heard the sound of ghosts wailing and wolves howling." Leng Ruoxue said calmly. "You bastard. That's the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves." At this time, an angry roar sounded in everyone's ears. The group of people immediately raised their vigilance and observed their surroundings. "Who is it? Get out here. Don't play tricks." Leng Ruoxue shouted. "Humph. Come out then, do you think I'm afraid of you?" As soon as he finished speaking, a huge object covered the sky and pounced towards Leng Ruoxue and the others. Everyone quickly dodged and focused their eyes to take a look. It was actually a huge bug that was shining with golden light and burning with flames. It was similar to the soul-devouring bug that Leng Ruoxue had killed previously. However, this was an enlarged version. Its color and strength were also very different from the previous soul-devouring bug. This one's strength was obviously much stronger. "You're a soul-devouring insect?" Leng Ruoxue asked as she looked at the ferocious and unfriendly giant insect. "What kind of eyesight do you have? How can I be a soul-devouring insect? I'm clearly the king of soul-devouring insects." The king of soul-devouring insects, who had been lowered in status, roared in anger. When Leng Ruoxue heard this, she couldn't help but roll her eyes. She thought to herself, isn't this the same? Is there a difference? They were all bugs anyway. As for the king of soul-devouring insects that Leng Ruoxue had identified as a soul-devouring insect, even though it did not know how to read minds, it could tell that this detestable woman did not think much of its identity. This fact made it even angrier, and the flames on its body grew even higher. Following that, it continued to roar, "Despicable human, you killed so many of my descendants. I won't let you off. You're all dead. So all the soul-devouring insects here were born by you?" Leng Ruoxue came to a sudden realization. Then, she continued to say nonchalantly, "Since you are so good at giving birth, just keep giving birth. I didn't kill you anyway. However, it's not good to give birth to too many insects, so I sincerely suggest that you don't give birth anymore. Keeping your life is the best way. As for revenge, don't even think about it." When the king of soul-devouring insects heard this, it couldn't control the anger in its heart. Then, everyone heard it roar angrily, "You bastard! Is it something I can control? You're quite a busybody, I think you'd better think about how to be safe. I, the powerful king of soul-devouring insects, will absolutely not let you off. Humans! Get ready to receive my attack. Do you really want to fight?" Leng Ruoxue asked indifferently. "Of course. We must fight." The king of soul-devouring insects roared. "Are you sure you're the king of soul-devouring insects? And not just growing a little bigger?" Shui Mo, who had been watching coldly, suddenly asked curiously. "Qilin, you. What do you mean by this?" The king of soul-devouring insects was unhappy that the Qilin doubted its identity. However, after being friendly with the Qilin for so long, it did not want to be an enemy of the Qilin. Therefore, it spoke to Shui Mo in a polite tone, but it was still fierce to a human like Leng Ruoxue. "I've lived for so many years, but I've never heard of the existence of the king of soul-devouring insects. And as far as I know, the soul-devouring insects in Devil's Forest are all bred by Devil's Forest, so you're not the king of soul-devouring insects. You're just too fat, so you mistakenly think you're the king of soul-devouring insects," Shui Mo said with certainty, looking as if he had been tricked. When Leng Ruoxue heard this, she laughed in her heart. She did not expect Shui Mo to have such a black-bellied side. From the way he was so natural when he was a black bug, it was obvious that this was not the first time he had done something like this. This was beyond Leng Ruoxue's expectations. It was obvious that Shui Mo was more energetic and cute like this. However, the king of soul-devouring insects did not find Shui Mo cute at all. It truly felt that this old Qilin was extremely annoying. He actually called it fat and even suspected that it wasn't the king of soul-devouring insects. "You bastard! Who else could it be? How am I not the king of soul-devouring insects? I'm the appointed king of soul-devouring insects in the Devil Forest." After a long time, the king of soul-devouring insects roared in anger, its trembling body fully showing the anger in its heart. "Does the Devil's Forest have consciousness? How could they appoint you?" When Leng Ruoxue heard this, she also raised her own doubts. Shui Mo nodded in agreement. On this point, it had the same thoughts as Leng Ruoxue. "Can't you just accept my fate just because I have no consciousness?" "Humph. This insect was born to be the king of soul-devouring insects, this is inborn, do you understand?" The king of soul-devouring insects shuddered and roared. Unfortunately, no matter how angry it was, Leng Ruoxue and Shui Mo didn't believe its words. The human and Qilin even looked at each other with tacit understanding and smiled. The two of them reached an agreement in an instant. If this king of soul-devouring insects knew its own limitations, then he would not kill it. After all, the Qilin race needed the existence of soul-devouring insects. However, if this insect was insistent on doing things its own way, then he could only apologize. After making the decision, Shui Mo smiled and said to the king of soul-devouring insects, "Little bug, seeing that it's not easy for you to cultivate, we're willing to let you live. It's up to you to see if you can grasp it. What do you think?" I don't think so. The king of soul-devouring insects was furious. What was the meaning of this? The other party was clearly looking down on him. Chapter 2743, The Chilan Clan, 1. It had to be said that the king of soul-devouring insects was the truth. The king of soul-devouring insects, who had realized the truth, charged towards Leng Ruoxue with an unprecedented rage. Leng Ruoxue calmly raised her eyes and kicked the king of soul-devouring insects that was flying towards her. Her entire set of movements was smooth and natural. The king of soul-devouring insects, who was not mentally prepared and had intended to show off its might to Leng Ruoxue, was sent flying with a kick from Leng Ruoxue. It received the same treatment as Fengyi. With a bang, a loud sound came from afar. The forest and earth trembled because of the loud sound. Fengyi, who clearly felt it, could not help but cover his face. Could he say that he sincerely hoped that the king of soul-devouring insects would be kicked into the hornet's nest like him? However, the king of soul-devouring insects' treatment was obviously worse than its own. This was because the king of soul-devouring insects that was kicked did not appear for a long time after it was sent flying. Of course, Leng Ruoxue and the rest did not deliberately wait for it to appear. After kicking the other party away, the group of people continued to walk forward in a natural manner. It was only when they were almost out of the devil forest that the huge king of soul-devouring insects dragged its injured body and crawled behind them. The pitiful king of soul-devouring bugs even roared out with a face of grief and indignation, "Detestable. You're really too hateful, to actually treat this insect like this. I, the bug king, will not let you off." At first, the king of soul-devouring insects felt that its roar was very imposing, but Leng Ruoxue had only turned her head slightly and her beautiful eyes had swept over it lightly. It immediately revealed a pitiful little wife-like smile and stood rooted to the ground, not daring to move. "Little bug, how are you going to not let us go?" Leng Ruoxue asked with a smile. I, the king of soul-devouring insects stammered. It could not answer. Although it instinctively felt that the human in front of it was very scary, her flames were very attractive to it, causing it to want to pounce on her, but after pouncing once and being kicked away, it was a little timid. Compared to those soul-devouring insects that had no intelligence and only acted on instinct, as a king, it was obviously much more intelligent and sensible. But now, it was at a loss and helpless. What should it do? The king of soul-devouring insects thought hard, frowning in worry. However, Leng Ruoxue didn't have the time to just stand there and wait. After giving everyone a look, they decided to continue moving forward. Seeing that they were about to leave, the king of soul-devouring insects ignored its fear and dragged its injured body to block Leng Ruoxue and the others. It shouted, You can't leave. Little bug, what do you want? We asked but you didn't answer, we left but you didn't let us. What are you trying to do? Or do you still want to fight? I'd advise you not to, because you're going to lose for sure. Leng Ruoxue helplessly reminded him. The king of soul-devouring insects did not know what it wanted to do, but it knew that it could not let them leave just like that. Otherwise, what prestige would it have left? But it wouldn't let him, all right? Leng Ruoxue laughed lightly before saying, You're quite an interesting little insect. You won't let us leave, yet you don't know what you want to do. Sigh. I advise you to think about it before coming to me. I'll be a guest at the Chilan clan. If you've decided, you can find me there. With that, Leng Ruoxue gave Shui Mo a look and the group walked past the soul-devouring insect king, who was obviously in a bad state. Under its gaze, they left the demon forest. After Leng Ruoxue and the rest left, the king of soul-devouring insects could not take the blow and finally burst into tears. Woo! Why is it so useless? It was not worthy of its title as the king of soul-devouring insects. It was a pity that Leng Ruoxue and the others could not see its regret and sadness. Thanks, the king of soul-devouring insects didn't think it was that bold. If there were only a few Chilan, it would be willing to play with them, but in the Chilan's nest, it was better not to. With this thought, the king of soul-devouring insects retreated back into the forest. At the same time, Leng Ruoxue and the rest were not far from the Qilin clan's territory. Of course, Feng Yi was the one who said that. Leng Ruoxue was obviously suspicious of Feng Ye's words. The facts proved that Feng Ye's words were indeed watered down. After walking for half a day, they still had not reached the territory that Feng Yi had mentioned. Leng Ruoxue was a little angry. She glared at Feng Yi and questioned, "Feng Yi, didn't you say that the territory of the Qilin clan is not far away? Why aren't they here yet?" "It's not far. But you guys are walking too slowly, so we had no choice but to slow down our own pace to accompany you, AI." Feng Yi explained. After he was done, he sighed heavily. His eyes subconsciously swept towards Leng Ruoxue's legs. He felt sick in his heart. She wanted to walk fast with such short, thin, and small legs? Was that even possible? It was impossible for Feng Ye's peculiar gaze to not attract Leng Ruoxue's attention. Leng Ruoxue followed its gaze and realized that it was focused on her leg. Then, she unconsciously glanced at Feng Ye's leg. When she compared the two, she was furious. "You bastard!" The other party was really despising her again. It was no wonder that she was said to be walking slowly. Compared to the other party's thick legs, Leng Ruoxue realized that she was really small and she was indeed not as tall as Feng Ye's leg. Uncle can endure it, but aunt can't. When the furious Leng Ruoxue discovered this depressing fact, she did not hold back and kicked Feng Ye's butt. Feng Yi was not prepared at all and was kicked right in the face. However, Leng Ruoxue did not use much strength, but Feng Yi still felt wronged. Frowning, Feng Yi said with a choked voice, "Shuer, how could you kick my ass?" "Woo! Only my woman can kick around here." "Oh, really? What about it?" Leng Ruoxue sneered as she pointed at Bing Yun. Bin Jian's face darkened, and he raised his front leg, wanting to hit him again. Feng Sun trembled, cowering without a backbone. It's an exception. Since it can be an exception, I believe I can too." Leng Ruoxue waved her fist as a warning, then revealed her own purple-red flame. Instantly, Feng Yi burst into tears. "Woo, how could he bully the honest Qilin like this? Don't be so shameless, alright?" Feng Yi was very worried. He really felt that it was not good to bully others with his fists, especially when he was the one being bullied. He felt even worse. More importantly, it did not dare to resist Leng Ruoxue. Before leaving Demon City, the little kitten had personally called it to the side and warned it to take good care of Leng Ruoxue. If Leng Ruoxue lost even a single strand of hair, it would be held responsible. It was precisely because of this that it could only swallow its anger. AI. In the entire divine realm, there probably wouldn't be a Qilin that was more unlucky and miserable than it, right? Unfortunately, the people in front of it, be it humans or beasts, were not to be trifled with and could not be trifled with. Chapter 2744, The Qilin Clan, 2, Feng Yi sighed and sobbed. "You're an exception too. Alright. This is more like it." Leng Ruoxue nodded her head in satisfaction. Then, she gave him another kick and roared, "Continue to lead the way. Don't use your legs to compete with ours." "I know." Feng Yi replied like a wronged wife and walked slowly in front of the group. A few hours later, Feng Yi finally heaved a sigh of relief and said, "We've arrived at the territory of the Qilin clan." "Where are you?" Leng Ruoxue's beautiful eyes scanned her surroundings. She clearly felt that Feng Yi was toying with her. There were mountains on 3 sides in front of them, and a cliff was right in front of them. How did this look like the territory of the Qilin clan? "Just go down." As expected, Feng Yi pointed at the cliff. Leng Ruoxue broke out in a cold sweat. Although it wasn't like she had never descended to the bottom of a cliff before, the cliff in front of her was obviously much larger and deeper than the ones she had seen before. As they approached the edge of the cliff, the cold wind rustled, and it was pitch black inside. Leng Ruoxue truly didn't like a place like this. She didn't expect the Qilin clan to live at the bottom of the cliff. No wonder he was so mysterious. And this cliff, without the strength of a divine emperor or even a hierarch, one could forget about going down safely. More importantly, even if he managed to get down safely, the Qilin clan would probably treat him as an uninvited enemy and attack him fiercely. Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but shiver at the thought of the consequences. The result would be too terrifying, wouldn't it? As if he could read Leng Ruoxue's mind, Feng Yi provoked her. What, are you afraid? Which eye of yours can tell that I'm afraid? Leng Ruoxue gave a faint smile and then kicked Feng Yi unceremoniously. Feng Yi, who was just in the middle of showing off, did not expect Leng Ruoxue to suddenly attack him. He lost his balance and fell straight down the cliff. Ah! Feng Yi's angry voice resounded from the cliff. When Leng Ruoxue heard it, she looked at Shui Mo and Bing Yun, who did not have any reaction, and said, "Let's go down too." "All right." The two Qilins nodded their heads blankly and prayed for Feng Yi in their hearts. They hoped that his ugly behavior would not be known by the entire Qilin clan. Otherwise, he would lose a lot of face. They watched as Leng Ruoxue picked up her 5 little beasts and followed Feng Yi down the cliff. The two Qilins then looked at Uncle Long and Master Ning. The two of them sighed silently. Why did it feel like suicide? However, the two of them still jumped in. Finally, it was Shui Mo and Bing Yun's turn. After jumping off the cliff, everyone had already adjusted their conditions and floated down slowly with the help of the wind. As they descended, Leng Ruoxue and the rest could clearly feel the cold. Not only that, but the bottom of the cliff was very deep. After floating for about half an hour, they landed safely. The scenery at the bottom of the cliff instantly opened everyone's eyes. Thanks, it could be said that from the top of the cliff to the middle of the cliff, the temperature was always very low. However, when they reached the bottom of the cliff, it was like spring all year round, with flowers in full bloom and all living things recovering. What do you think? Our place is not bad, right? Seeing everyone's surprise, Bing Yun could not help but ask with pride. It's beautiful, provided that the fool isn't hanging from the tree. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly. It wasn't that she didn't want to give face to the Qilin clan, but Feng Yi's current appearance was simply too funny. Feng Yi, who had been kicked off the cliff earlier than them, clearly did not adjust his landing position and fell onto a tree. Actually, even if it had fallen onto a tree, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But what was strange about Feng Sun was that he was actually hanging upside down. I really don't know what it's doing. Leng Ruoxue was extremely surprised, while Bing Yun was burning with anger. Damn it! The Qilin clan's face had been completely thrown away by Feng Yi. At this time, Feng Yi, who clearly did not feel that he was embarrassed, even waved at Bing Yun in a friendly manner and reminded loudly, "I'm here, put me down." When Bing Yun heard that, she immediately turned her head, pretending not to know the other party. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue pointed at Feng Yi and reminded, "It's calling you. Young lady Leng, let's enter the clan quickly. I'm sure the acting clan head and the elders are all waiting anxiously." Bing Yun ignored Leng Ruoxue's warning and changed the topic. Then go in. She gave Feng Yi a look that said you're on your own before following Bing Yun's footsteps. She led Uncle Long, Master Ning and the 5 little beasts and swaggered into the Qilin clan. When they arrived at the Qilin clan, Leng Ruoxue, the 3 humans, and the 5 beasts were first arranged to sit in the living room. After that, Bing Yun came to tell them with an apologetic face that the elders were in a meeting and were afraid that they could not see them now. Following that, he enthusiastically arranged accommodation for Leng Ruoxue and the other 2. Leng Ruoxue and the other 2 naturally had no doubts about Bing Yun's arrangement. The next morning, Leng Ruoxue had just left the room when she realized that Feng Yi was blocking her door with a sorrowful expression. He was looking at her with hidden bitterness. Leng Ruoxue shuddered and smiled. "What's wrong? Did you come down from the tree?" It'll be too late by the time you come to save me." As for Leng Ruoxue's actions of rubbing salt into his wound, Feng Yi looked down on her. "Is this my fault?" Leng Ruoxue felt that she was innocent. It was obviously Bing Yun who didn't want to save her. Why was this guy blaming her now? Who else could it be if not you? If you didn't kick me off the cliff, would I have hung on the tree? You're still not saving me. Feng Yi said bitterly. Hanging on a tree only shows that you're too stupid, and your balance isn't good. You've really wronged me. Leng Ruoxue said with a helpless expression. Wrongly accused you? Feng Yi didn't expect Leng Ruoxue to be so shameless. How could she not admit to such an obvious thing? And, the one who didn't save her was clearly your little companion Bing Yun and not me. Leng Ruoxue said, throwing away all responsibility. He didn't save her, but you couldn't have saved her. Feng Yi was speechless. How could this detestable woman be like this? Shameless, he was too shameless. I wanted to save you, but you were in your original form at that time. Look at my small arms and legs, can I save you? Leng Ruoxue gestured with her little arms and legs and answered honestly. Feng Yi was so choked that he didn't know what to say. He didn't ask her to carry him down. It was just a matter of lifting a finger to help him. Why did it sound like it was such a difficult thing for her? Seeing that Feng Yi had stopped talking, Leng Ruoxue continued, see, you also think what I said makes sense. AI. It's not that I didn't want to help, but my ability is limited. I'm too lazy to talk to you about this. Feng Yi was filled with grief and anger, then he said hatefully, you should prepare for that. The acting clan head and the elders will see you in 1 hour. Chapter 2745, The Qilin Clan, 3, he had actually come to pass on the news and to complain at the same time. Who knew that not only did he not gain any advantage, he was also angered to death. I'll come and pick you up in an hour. Feng Yi added, then turned and left. Seeing that Feng Yi had left, Leng Ruoxue turned around and went to look for Uncle Long and Godfather. After telling them the news, the two of them were a little excited. Uncle Long, Godfather, Leng Ruoxue was puzzled and asked curiously, it's only the acting clan leader and elders of the Qilin clan who want to see us. Why are you so agitated? Calm down. Don't let people think that we've never seen the world. Stinky girl, what nonsense are you talking about? How can we not have seen the world? Hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, Master Ning was enraged. But soon after, he said with a slight worry, although we've seen a lot of things, the seniors of the Qilin clan are still worthy of our respect. Godfather, are you sure that the Qilin clan's acting clan leader and elders are all your seniors? Leng Ruoxue felt that there was something wrong with her godfather's way of thinking, so she could not help but ask. Godfather and Uncle Long had lived for a long time. Those who could become their seniors must be old acquaintances, and those old acquaintances would not easily meet people. Thus, Leng Ruoxue truly felt that it would not be easy to meet the old Qilin who was of the same generation as Shui Mo. Hearing this, Master Ning and Uncle Long's faces turned red. They truly felt that they were a little too uncollected. In reality, the current acting patriarch and most of the elders of the Qilin clan should be of similar seniority to them. The so-called senior that they spoke of had probably already stopped caring about other people's business, so how could he possibly meet them? With this thought in mind, the two immediately calmed down. An hour later, Feng Yi came as promised. There was a handsome young man beside him. With a dark expression, Feng Yi pointed at the man beside him and introduced him, Feng Qiong, you claim to be the most handsome man in the Qilin race, but in reality, you're just an embroidered pillow with gold and jade on the outside but rotten on the inside. You can just casually say hello, don't take it too seriously. Hearing Feng Yi's reluctant introduction, Leng Ruoxue's face was filled with black lines. Is this how you introduce others? These two people didn't get along at all. However, the young man named Feng Qiong did not mind what Feng Yi said about him. He smiled politely and said, I've heard of Miss Leng's name for a long time. However, I need to explain that I'm not claiming to be the most handsome man in the Qilin clan. It's all recognized by the clan. In addition, my strength is not low, and I'm definitely not an embroidered pillow. Leng Ruoxue agreed with Feng Qiong's explanation. This man's strength was indeed not low, and he was actually a reverent god. After some thought, Leng Ruoxue smiled and said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Your Excellency Wind Dome. If I may ask, you and Feng Yi both have the surname Feng, are you brothers?" Leng Ruoxue was curious about this. Furthermore, she was surprised to find out that there were many surnames in the Qilin clan. The ones that she knew were water, wind, and ice. She wondered if there were any others. "We are definitely not brothers." After hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, Feng Yi and Feng Qiong said in unison. Feng Ye's voice was louder, while Feng Qiong's was gentler. Following that, Feng Qiong smiled and explained to Leng Ruoxue, "We have the same surname Feng because we're both wind attribute Qilins. Our attributes are also our surnames. The Qilin of our Qilin clan is mainly of the 5 attributes, with a small number of mutated Qilin. The 5 main attributes are mainly wind, fire, water, metal, and wood. The lightning and ice attributes are the variant Qilin, and they are very rare." After listening to Feng Qiong's explanation, Leng Ruoxue finally understood the origin of their surnames. However, seeing that Leng Ruoxue didn't quite understand these things, Feng Qiong was still a little surprised. "Why, didn't Feng Yi tell you this?" "No, he's been disgusted with me since the first time we met," Leng Ruoxue complained. "Ah. He has always been like this, you don't have to mind, really." Hearing this, Feng Qiong kindly comforted him. The two of them echoed each other and this made Feng Yi completely angry. "Leng Ruoxue, don't wrong me. When have I ever despised you?" Feng Yehua roared. Towards Leng Ruoxue's false accusations, Feng Yi felt extremely aggrieved. However, Leng Ruoxue had clearly pointed out the truth and even used the scene when they first met to remind him. Instantly, Feng Yi wilted. Sob. A single misstep could turn into a moment of eternal hatred. Feng Yi finally remembered. It was also from then on that he lost his freedom and became a cat servant. Seeing that Feng Yi was being honest, Leng Ruoxue did not make things difficult for him. She smiled and said, "Didn't your acting chief and elders want to see us? Let's go quickly. Don't let them wait too long." "Thanks, alright," he said. Feng Qiong nodded, then glanced at Feng Yi sympathetically, thinking, this guy has provoked a little devil. He had to remember not to provoke Leng Ruoxue. With this thought in mind, Feng Qiong's smile became even gentler when he faced Leng Ruoxue. After Feng Qiong and the depressed Feng Yi brought Leng Ruoxue, the 3 humans, and the 5 beasts to the living room, the 2 of them immediately turned and left. Leng Ruoxue, on the other hand, walked into the living room calmly. This time, the large living room was not as empty as last time. It was already filled with people and Qilin. When she saw the people and the Qilin's expressions, Leng Ruoxue was slightly stunned at first, but she quickly regained her composure. It seemed that the beasts of the Qilin race were quite carefree. Looking at the ones in front of him, they had transformed into human forms and maintained their beast forms. It was truly an eye-opener. Leng Ruoxue nodded slightly at the giant fiery red Qilin sitting at the head of the table as a greeting. The fiery red Qilin was obviously giving Leng Ruoxue a face. It chuckled and said, "Miss Leng, Your Excellency Dragon Whale, Master Ning, and of course, these 5 cute little beasts. Please feel free to sit." Hearing this, the 3 of them found empty chairs and sat down. The 5 little beasts lay in Leng Ruoxue's arms as if there was no one else around. Then, before anyone could speak, everyone stared at each other. This result was largely due to the fact that both sides were very interested in each other, so they didn't bother to talk first. Instead, they both began to observe each other. After a long while, the huge fire Qilin was a little embarrassed and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Miss Leng. We're too curious about you, so we're a little rude. Let me introduce myself first. I'm the acting clan leader of the Qilin clan, Hui Yu. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to meet you all. We are also very curious about the Qilin race." Hearing Hui Yu's words, Leng Ruoxue went along with it. Hee hee. As such, isn't our meeting just what we've been hoping for? Huiyu laughed. Who said it wasn't he? Leng Ruoxue laughed. Then, she took out a storage ring and said, I've prepared some gifts for the Qilin of the Qilin clan. I hope you'll like them. As the saying went, one should not blame others for giving too many gifts. Fire Yu had already heard about this from Bing Yun and knew what Leng Ruoxue had prepared. Naturally, he accepted it gladly, but he still said politely, I'm sorry to let Miss Leng spend so much money. You're too kind, Fire Yu. I actually refined all the pills myself. It didn't take much effort. As long as you're satisfied, it's fine. Leng Ruoxue replied with a smile. The man and the Kailan were polite for a long time, which made Uncle Long and Master Ning feel helpless. The two half-grown old men couldn't help but think, isn't this a little too weak? Do you have to do this? However, this was something that could not be helped. At this moment, both Leng Ruoxue and Fire Yu were in a state of testing each other. Especially Fire Yu, who had been very polite to Leng Ruoxue. This almost drove Leng Ruoxue mad. The key point was that she could not grasp the main point and could not confirm the other party's true intention in inviting her here. After an unknown period of time, Leng Ruoxue was finally not willing to be polite anymore. She went straight to the point and asked, Your Excellency Fire Yu, may I know why the Qilin clan has invited me here? Upon hearing this, Huiyu and the elders were all stunned. They did not expect Leng Ruoxue to be so impatient. They had planned to get closer to Leng Ruoxue first and build up their relationship. After all, their main purpose of inviting Leng Ruoxue over as a guest was to invite Elder Shui Mo back as well. Now that Elder Shui Mo was back, how could they tell Leng Ruoxue that they were only looking for her to borrow her hand? To attract Ancestor Shui Mo back? If they really said that, not only would Leng Ruoxue be angry, even old Ancestor Shui Mo would be furious. After thinking for a while, Fire Yu said in an emergency, Young Miss Leng, we invited you here because we hope that you can help us refine some medicinal pills. Hearing this, Leng Ruoxue raised her brows slightly and asked calmly, Does Your Excellency Fire Yu know that the price of my alchemy is very expensive? I've heard of it. Miss Leng, you don't have to worry about the price. Huiyu laughed lightly. He was trying to tell Leng Ruoxue not to worry as they could afford any amount of money. Since Huiyu had said so, Leng Ruoxue didn't say anything else. She adopted a serious and strict attitude and asked in detail what kind of medicinal pills the Qilin clan wanted to refine so that she could get them to prepare enough medicinal herbs. However, Huiyu was obviously making last-minute preparations, so he didn't expect Leng Ruoxue to ask in such detail. He could only force himself to answer, it's mainly some healing pills. Healing elixirs require more medicinal herbs. I wonder how many you want to make, Your Excellency Fire Yu. Leng Ruoxue asked again. Of course, I'll make as many as I can. I can't say for sure the exact amount, everything will depend on Miss Leng's refining technique. Fire Yu said shamelessly. If that's the case, I'll have to trouble Your Excellency Fire Yu to send the medicinal herbs I need to my current residence. When I'm done refining the pill, I'll give it to you. Leng Ruoxue promised with a smile. After she finished speaking, Leng Ruoxue stood up and bade Huiyu and the others farewell. She then brought Uncle Long, Godfather, and the 5 little beasts back to their residence. Chapter 2746, First time hearing about the reincarnation pill, 1. When they returned to their residence, Master Ning was still feeling indignant. He said to Leng Ruoxue angrily, Shuer, what pill refining? They were simply making things up. I think they must have some ulterior motives for inviting you here. At this time, the master of the Ning family didn't respect the Qilin clan as much as before, especially when he thought of the dumbfounded faces of Huiyu and the others. He felt that they had been played for fools. Facing her godfather's anger, Leng Ruoxue felt helpless. In reality, she and Uncle Long both knew that the Qilin clan had an ulterior motive for inviting her here. However, they did not tell Godfather and the others about this. Now that Godfather realized that things were not as he had thought, he was a little angry. Godfather, I know that the Qilin clan invited me here for another purpose. Uncle Long and I guessed that they wanted to use me as an excuse to trick Shui Mo to go back. However, I tested it out and Fire Yu was very cunning. He didn't give himself away. So, I can't say anything. Leng Ruoxue explained. Unexpectedly, when the master of the Ning family heard that Leng Ruoxue and Uncle Long knew that the Qilin clan did not sincerely invite them, he was even more furious. How detestable! How detestable! How could he do this? How could she just hide it from him? Master Ning was angry, and the consequences were serious. As a result of his anger, he put on a cold face to Leng Ruoxue and Uncle Long. Of course, before he got angry, he didn't forget to yell at Leng Ruoxue and Uncle Long, "You guys are too much. How could you hide such a thing from me? Ugh!" Looking at her godfather, Leng Ruoxue helplessly realized that her godfather was being a tsundere. Uncle Long had a headache too. The Ning family's old man was already so old. How could he still be so immature? It wasn't a big deal, and the Qilin race didn't have any bad intentions. Was there a need to tell him? In reality, neither Leng Ruoxue nor Uncle Long had intentionally hidden it from Master Ning. It was just that the two of them didn't think that this matter was that serious, so they didn't say anything. Who would have thought that Master Ning would be so arrogant over such a small matter? Godfather, Uncle Long and I didn't want to hide it from you. We just felt that since we've decided to come to the Qilin clan, it doesn't matter what purpose they have in inviting us. This is also the key to whether we can reach a consensus with the Qilin clan. Therefore, no matter what their purpose is, we have to come here. Leng Ruoxue continued to explain. However, the master of the Ning family clearly felt that his precious daughter no longer valued him, so he continued to turn his head and ignore Leng Ruoxue. Seeing this, Baby jumped into Master Ning's arms with a bitter face and said pitifully, "Cute Master didn't mention this to us either." Sob. Master doesn't love us either. As he spoke, Baby even started to choke up. When the master of the Ning family saw this, he stroked his baby's soft fur with a little sympathy and said empathetically, "Ai. Who said it wasn't he? Shui, the bad girl, doesn't love us anymore. Let's cry together." All right. Baby nodded. It had no objections. Then, when Master Ning was not paying attention, it winked at Leng Ruoxue and let Master Ning carry it. The man and beast found a place to cry. Leng Ruoxue was helpless. Although she knew that her baby was trying to help her coax her godfather, she felt that it wouldn't be that easy to coax him this time. Sure enough, Master Ning and the baby didn't show up for 2 days. According to the information that Feng Yi had provided to Leng Ruoxue, the man and beast had toured the entire Qilin territory in the past 2 days. Of course, they could not go to some of the restricted areas, but they could go to most of the places. It could be said that the man and beast had a very happy time these 2 days. Thanks hearing this news, Leng Ruoxue was relieved. At the same time, the Qilin clan had also sent over the medicinal herbs needed to refine the healing elixir. Now that Leng Ruoxue had proper business to attend to, she had less attention on her godfather and the treasure. However, when she saw the mountain-like pile of various medicinal herbs in the storage ring, she could not help but feel speechless. The Qilin race was indeed worthy of being one of the 4 great king divine beasts of the divine realm. The foundation was rich. Look at how many herbs there are, it's scary. More importantly, with so many herbs, it was enough to refine tens of thousands of healing pills. Could the Qilin race use all of them? Leng Ruoxue knew that the Qilin clan had been keeping a low profile for the past tens of thousands of years. They had rarely participated in any major or minor matters in the god world. As such, they probably did not get injured much. Naturally, they would not need so many healing pills. But now, what was the Qilin clan trying to do? One had to know that showing off one's wealth was a shameful act. After checking the herbs, Leng Ruoxue let out a soft sigh. Before she could say anything, the Qilin that was in charge of delivering the herbs consoled her in an understanding manner. "Miss Leng, the acting clan head said that you can refine these herbs as you wish and produce as many medicinal pills as you can. There's no need to feel any pressure. If it's not enough, we will send more over. Did she show that she wasn't satisfied? Kiss. Len Ruoxue was speechless. This was a nouveau riche. He was definitely a rich man. Len Ruoxue truly felt that she was a loser when compared to the Qilin clan. At least she wouldn't take out so many herbs at once and tell the person in charge of the pill refining that if it wasn't enough, she would send more over. She thought that the Qilin clan's words implied that they supported her misappropriating the medicinal herbs. Otherwise, why would he be so generous? Ugh. Since the Qilin clan had this intention, Len Ruoxue felt that if she didn't do as she was told, she would be letting down the good intentions of the Qilin clan. With that thought in mind, Len Ruoxue started to have ideas about the medicinal herbs. In any case, she was rather confident in her own alchemy skills. Even if she deducted half of the herbs, it would be a huge profit for the Qilin race. Just like that, Len Ruoxue found a room and made it her own pill refinement room. She focused on refining pills. Even though Len Ruoxue had only used half of the mountain of herbs, it still took her a few days to refine them. Just as Len Ruoxue was about to finish her work, Master Ning finally showed up again with the treasure. After Uncle Long saw him and greeted him, he couldn't help but tease, "What's wrong? Have you had enough of being Sundara?" "I'm not Sundara. I'm angry, okay?" The master of the Ning family immediately refuted. "All right. You're angry, okay? Master Ning, are you willing to show your face because you're angry enough?" Uncle Long continued to tease him. "Humph. I can't be bothered to be angry for too long. Wouldn't that be what you want?" The master of the Ning family roared. "How can it be as we wish? We don't want you to be angry." Uncle Long was speechless. Was this old man blaming him and Shuai for not coaxing him? But could they be blamed for this? This old man had been missing for a long time, so they couldn't possibly look for him all over the world, right? With that Sundara Master Ning would become famous in the Qilin clan. Humph. Where's Shuai, that stinky girl? Master Ning did not continue arguing with Uncle Long and turned to ask Len Ruoxue. Chapter 2747, First time hearing about the reincarnation pill, 2, she's refining pills for the Qilin clan. Uncle Long said honestly. "You're not done?" The master of the Ning family asked. "No, the amount of herbs that the Qilin clan brought over is simply too much. It should be enough for little Shuai to refine for a while." Uncle Long said sympathetically. "That's right, you've been wandering around the Qilin clan for the past few days. Did you find anything good?" Uncle Long asked. "What can I find? There are people of the Qilin clan following us everywhere as guides, so it's impossible for us to act on our own. However, the scenery at the bottom of this cliff is really good. Compared to the cliff, it's like heaven and earth." The master of the Ning family praised. "I don't need you to tell me that." Uncle Long couldn't help but feel disappointed when he saw that Master Ning hadn't gained anything these days. Hee hee. Hearing this, the master of the Ning family smiled wretchedly, and then whispered, "You know what? I noticed that Feng Yi was pursuing a female Qilin, but the female Qilin didn't really care about him." Hearing this, Uncle Long stared at Master Ning for a long time, then sighed. "Don't tell me that you've only been away for a few days and discovered this gossip." "Yup. I even gave Feng Yi some pointers. I just don't know if the female Qilin will fall for it." Master Ning said with a smile and a hint of pride. "Master Ning, you have to help me. Speak of the devil is here." As soon as Master Ning finished speaking, Feng Yi's resentful voice drifted in. Then, Uncle Long and Master Ning saw a dispirited Feng Yi walk in from outside. When he saw Feng Yi, Uncle Long sighed and then turned to leave. Master Ning was very excited and asked Feng Yi all sorts of questions. Finally, he left with Feng Yi. When Len Ruoxue was done refining the pill, she walked out of her room and headed to the living room. She happened to see Uncle Long sitting on a chair with a worried look on his face. He was looking up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. Leng Ruoxue shuddered and walked over. She asked with concern, "Uncle Long, what's wrong? Is there something that I don't know about?" "Little girl. You finished refining the pills?" Upon seeing Leng Ruoxue, Uncle Long asked excitedly. "Yup. Uncle Long, what's wrong?" Seeing that Uncle Long wasn't going to answer her directly, Leng Ruoxue could only ask again. "AI. It's hard to explain in a few words." Uncle Long sighed heavily. Leng Ruoxue's face was filled with question marks. "Your godfather was so bored that he became Feng Ye's love advisor and made a mess of the Qilin clan. Just now, the acting clan leader of Huiyu came to me and asked me to restrain Master Ning. I was just wondering how to talk to him." After sighing, Uncle Long finally explained the reason. However, Leng Ruoxue was even more confused. Seeing that Leng Ruoxue didn't understand, Uncle Long could only explain more clearly. The cause of this incident was naturally Feng Yi falling in love with a female Qilin, but that female Qilin fell in love with another female Qilin. And the other female Qilin fell in love with another person. Such a complicated relationship became even more complicated with the participation of Master Ning. Because Master Ning not only gave Feng Yi an idea, but also taught the female Qilin a few moves. This way, things were getting out of hand. Thanks the parties involved, which were several Qilins with complicated relationships, had a big fight and shocked the entire Qilin clan. Those troublemakers were all locked up by fire use order. Of course, Master Ning could not be locked up, so Fire Yu came to him in person. One must know that the Qilin clan had always been free to love. They did not understand the struggles of humans. Snatch and whatnot. But now, the naive Qilins were obviously influenced by the naive master of the Ning family, and they knew what jealousy was. AI. Poor Qilin clan's pure culture. It was said that the Fire Yu was very angry because of this matter. Its originally fiery red fur had become much whiter. The Fire Yu that Uncle Long had seen earlier was also obviously a little dispirited. He even felt a little sympathy for Huiyu. Leng Ruoxue calmly listened to Uncle Long's words. She was speechless and didn't know what to say. However, she would never be like Uncle Long, who thought that it was because her godfather was bored. She truly felt that godfather was angry that the Qilin clan was not sincere enough when they invited them over, so he wanted to cause some trouble for the Qilin clan. One had to know that godfather was very protective of his own people. He felt that the Qilin race didn't value him enough, so how could he swallow this? It was precisely because of this that the Qilin race was in a tragedy. But thinking about it, this should not be a big deal. Leng Ruoxue was very open-minded. After consoling Uncle Long for a while, she went to look for the Fire Yu with him. After seeing the Fire Yu, Leng Ruoxue did not take the initiative to mention the matter of her godfather. Instead, she directly handed over the elixir that she had refined to the Fire Yu. After Huiyu took it and examined it, he opened his mouth and looked at Leng Ruoxue in shock and disbelief. Of course, Leng Ruoxue didn't think that Huiyu was not satisfied with the number of pills. Hence, she calmly drank the tea that Huiyu had ordered the servants to serve, but didn't say anything. Finally, Huiyu couldn't help but ask, "Miss Leng, these medicinal pills are all from the herbs I sent people to give you?" "Of course, Your Excellency Fire Yu, you don't think that I added my own herbs into it, do you? I'm not that selfless." Leng Ruoxue laughed lightly as she teased. "Hee hee. Miss Leng's alchemy skills have really surprised me." After hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, Huiyu's face revealed a smile. This was probably the best news it had received in a while. "It's good that you're satisfied, Your Excellency Fire Yu." Leng Ruoxue laughed lightly. With that, she stood up and prepared to leave. When Huiyu saw that Leng Ruoxue was about to leave, he quickly said, "Miss Leng, about your godfather, what's wrong with my godfather?" Without waiting for Fire Yu to finish speaking, Leng Ruoxue interrupted him and played dumb with a puzzled look on her face. Ugh! Huiyu thought that Leng Ruoxue still didn't understand, so he turned to look at Uncle Long. Uncle Long was very calm and stared at Huiyu, but he did not say anything. Huiyu was helpless. Of these two people, one had a blank face and the other was playing dumb. What should it do? AI. Forget it, on the account of Leng Ruoxu's high success rate in producing pills, it would just accept it. Huiyu accepted his fate and smiled at Leng Ruoxu. Nothing. I just didn't expect Master Ning to be such a lively person. Although Huiyu's words were very subtle, Leng Ruoxu understood. Godfather is not lively at all. He had turned the entire Qilin race into a mess. However, since Huiyu had obviously let it go, Leng Ruoxu naturally would not take the initiative to mention this matter. After returning to the residence, Leng Ruoxu saw her godfather and baby the moment she walked into the living room. They were sitting on the chairs as if they were good brothers. The man and the beast were even muttering to each other. She had no idea what they were talking about. Chapter 2748, First time hearing about the reincarnation pill. 3. When he saw Leng Ruoxu and Uncle Long walk in, Master Ning only glanced at Leng Ruoxu lightly before turning his head away. Baby pounced towards Leng Ruoxu enthusiastically and jumped into her arms. Leng Ruoxu felt helpless when she saw the two extreme attitudes of her godfather and her baby. She then carried her baby and walked towards her godfather. She then sat down on the empty seat beside her godfather. Godfather, are you still angry with me? Leng Ruoxu asked on purpose. You're a little heartless. Master Ning snorted coldly and said arrogantly. Seeing this, Uncle Long smiled and tried to smooth things over. All right, you're not young anymore, so don't act like a child and throw a tantrum. I'm not being difficult. Master Ning refused to admit it. Since Godfather isn't at loggerheads, then Godfather, give Shuai a smile. Leng Ruoxu teased. Do you think he'll laugh just because you want me to? Then he'll lose face. The master of the Ning family roared. AI. Since Godfather doesn't want to smile for Shuai, then how about Shuai smile for Godfather? Leng Ruoxu continued. Hearing this, Master Ning couldn't help but burst into laughter. He scolded jokingly, Stinky girl, who did you learn to be so talkative from? In order to make Godfather smile, it doesn't matter if I'm poor. Leng Ruoxu tried to please him. Bad girl, I'll forgive you this time. Master Ning said helplessly. He could no longer pretend. Seeing that her godfather had finally been coaxed, Leng Ruoxu stopped entertaining the family and casually asked about what had happened these few days. Master Ning naturally knew what Shuai wanted to ask, so he described the matter vividly. As the person involved, he naturally explained it more clearly than Uncle Long. After hearing the live version of the story, Uncle Long and Leng Ruoxu were speechless and didn't know what to say. The matter that Godfather had caused this time seemed to be a little bigger. According to his godfather, after his instigation, at least half of the Qilin race had confessed to their crush. It wasn't like what Uncle Long said, where there were only Feng Yi and a few other Qilin. At this moment, the two of them finally knew why Huiyu had a constipated expression. After a long time. After clearing his throat, Uncle Long gave Master Ning a thumbs up. Ning family's old boy, you're amazing. I'm convinced. Hee. This is just how far. If it wasn't for the fact that many Qilin were locked up and forced to wake up, I'm afraid the Qilin clan would be even more lively now. Master Ning said disapprovingly. Since he dared to make use of his daughter, he had to be aware that he was causing trouble. Leng Ruoxu and Uncle Long looked at the Ning family's master, who looked like he wanted more. The two of them looked at each other in silence, and neither of them said anything. They really didn't know what to say. By the way, that old rascal Huiyu didn't say anything bad about me, right? Master Ning asked again when he saw the two of them remain silent. No, but it came to me and asked me to restrain you. Just now, when I accompanied Shuai to deliver the pills to it, it seemed to be complaining to Shuai, but in the end, it didn't say anything. Uncle Long said honestly. That's good. Master Ning was relieved, but then he frowned and said, "AI. Feng Yi has also been locked up. Now, no one will listen to my command." The two of them remained silent. "Shuer, do you think we should think of a way to get Feng Yi out? After all, he's your man now." The master of the Ning family continued to speak to himself. "Godfather, we're in the middle of a storm right now. It's best if we don't act rashly. Otherwise, if we make the Qilin clan unhappy, it might ruin our business." Leng Ruoxua thought for a moment before reminding him. "I see. Then I'll just endure it. AI. I really like that little guy, he's so obedient." The master of the Ning family said with a face full of reluctance. Leng Ruoxua was speechless. She thought to herself, when did you treat Feng Yi as a toy? However, Leng Ruoxua couldn't bear to disappoint her godfather, so she said, when the Fire Yu isn't so angry in a few days, I'll go and plead with it. Hearing Leng Ruoxua's words, Master Ning was satisfied. The next day, Leng Ruoxua and the rest had just finished their breakfast when Bing Yun came to their door. Thanks looking at Bing Yun who had not appeared in front of them for a long time ever since she returned to the Qilin clan, Leng Ruoxua was a little surprised and couldn't help but let her thoughts run wild. Could Bing Yun be here to send off her guest? After all, the pill that the Qilin clan requested had already been refined. And when the Ning family head saw Bing Yun, he simply widened his eyes and said with an incredulous look, "Isn't Ice Cloud His Excellency locked up?" Bing Yun had never been asked so directly by anyone before. She immediately broke out in a waterfall of sweat. After a long time, Bing Yun finally came back to his senses and said with a serious face, "Master Ning, I'm not locked up. How did this happen? Did you bribe His Excellency Fire Guangdong?" Master Ning muttered to himself, his face still full of disappointment. When Bing Yun heard this, he was extremely depressed. However, on account of Leng Ruoxua's face, he could not say anything and could only remain silent. Leng Ruoxua saw that Bing Yun was forced into silence by her godfather and laughed evilly in her heart. She still kindly changed the topic and said, "Is there something you need from me, Your Excellency Hail Cloud? Young Lady Leng, the clan leader has invited you in." Bing Yun looked at Leng Ruoxua gratefully and quickly said. Leng Ruoxua didn't expect it to be Fire Yu looking for her. She nodded and followed Bing Yun to see Fire Yu. Along with her were Uncle Long, Master Ning, and the 5 little beasts. This time, Hui Yu received Leng Ruoxua and the others in the Qilin clan's meeting hall instead of the living room. Leng Ruoxua saw that the other party was so formal and knew that what Hui Yu wanted to say was probably very important. Hui Yu brought his godfather and the others into the meeting hall. He was still smiling when he saw Leng Ruoxua, but his face immediately darkened when he saw Master Ning. Master Ning also clearly felt that the atmosphere in the meeting hall had suddenly changed. However, Master Ning, who had always been used to big scenes, naturally did not care about the other party's reaction. After nodding and greeting each other, Leng Ruoxua and the other 2 found empty seats and sat down. The 5 little beasts, as usual, lay in their master's arms. Hui Yu's mouth twitched involuntarily when he saw the furry little beastie lying in Leng Ruoxua's arms. It could be seen that these 5 little beasts had a rather good relationship with Leng Ruoxua. However, the Qilin clan rarely recognized humans as their masters, so it could not understand why these little beasts treated it like a pet. At least, it admitted that it could not do that. However, every beast had their own ambitions, and it could not comment on the other party's actions. After being slightly surprised, Hui Yu went straight to the point. "Miss Leng, I have something very important to ask you today," Hui Yu said in a slightly anxious tone. "I wonder what it is?" Leng Ruoxua asked with a puzzled expression. "I would like to ask if young Lady Leng is able to refine the reincarnation pill." Hui Yu asked expectantly. Reincarnation pill. When Leng Ruoxua heard this name, she had a feeling that this pill was not simple. However, she had never heard of the reincarnation pill before. "Can I?" Hui Yu asked again. This time, not only was it filled with anticipation, but all the elders present also looked at Leng Ruoxua in unison. Their eyes were filled with desire. I'm sorry, Your Excellency, fire you. I've never heard of the reincarnation pill, so how would I know how to refine it? Leng Ruoxue said honestly. That's impossible. Huiyu was in disbelief. I really haven't heard of it. Leng Ruoxue was helpless. What was impossible? Could she be lying? Even though in the entire divine realm, no one can concoct the reincarnation pill except for Master Yu, but Master Yu is your master, so you should have heard of him before. Huiyu's expression was still in disbelief. In reality, if Leng Ruoxue had said that she couldn't refine the reincarnation pill, it wouldn't have been too surprised. After all, Leng Ruoxue was still too young. However, it had never even heard of her before. This made it wonder if Leng Ruoxue was just trying to avoid the question. Your Excellency, fire you, I'm very sure that the reincarnation pill wasn't in the pill recipe that Master left me. So, I really don't know what reincarnation pill is. Of course, if you don't believe me, I can't do anything about it. Leng Ruoxue said calmly, even though she could tell what Huiyu was thinking. When the fire you heard this, it stared at Leng Ruoxue seriously for a long time. Seeing that there was no trace of guilt on her face, it had no choice but to believe her words. After sighing, Huiyu said apologetically, I'm sorry, Miss Leng. I don't mean to doubt you. It's just that the reincarnation pill is too important to our Qilin clan. I can understand, but I don't know if it's convenient for you to tell me what the reincarnation pill is used for. Leng Ruoxue asked after expressing her understanding. The reincarnation pill is a top-grade healing pill. It requires a wide variety of herbs, many of which are priceless. Our Qilin clan has been collecting them for tens of thousands of years, but we are still short of two kinds. I thought that Miss Leng's alchemy skills were all passed down by Master Yu, but I didn't expect that Miss Leng had never heard of the reincarnation pill. Huiyu said disappointedly. As the saying goes, the greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. Ever since they had witnessed the quality of the healing pills that Leng Ruoxue concocted, they had high hopes for her. Otherwise, they wouldn't have excitedly sent someone to invite Leng Ruoxue over for questioning before they had even prepared the herbs needed for the reincarnation pill. However, the final result had clearly dealt them a heavy blow. Leng Ruoxue had never heard of the reincarnation pill, so she naturally had no way of refining it. How could they accept this? The Qilins that were originally excited were now like frosted eggplants, listless and dejected. Some of the elders who were too weak immediately wailed and bawled after hearing that Leng Ruoxue really didn't know about the reincarnation pill. Leng Ruoxue's forehead was filled with black lines. Even if the reincarnation pill was very important to them, there was no need for these Qilins to immediately show a pained expression as if their family member had died after knowing that she had never heard of it, right? What the hell is this? Chapter 2749, The Shrewd Buddha's Hand Flower, 1. Leng Ruoxue couldn't understand how fragile these Qilin were. Wasn't this a huge contrast to their gigantic bodies? Could it be that the bigger a beastie was, the more fragile its heart was? And now, the glass-hearted Qilin beasts were giving Leng Ruoxue a huge headache. Sighing lightly, Leng Ruoxue helplessly said, I wonder if the Qilin race has the formula for the reincarnation pill. If you do, can you let me take a look? Actually, when she heard Huiyu say that he had collected the medicinal herbs used to refine the reincarnation pill for tens of thousands of years, Leng Ruoxue knew that he definitely had the pill formula. It was just that the reincarnation pill was so important to him that she was embarrassed to ask him to lend it to her. She could only express her gratitude in a reserved manner. Unexpectedly, after Huiyu heard Leng Ruoxue's words, he immediately reacted and stared at her with bright eyes. That's right. Why didn't it think of that? Huiyu was very annoyed. Leng Ruoxue said that the reincarnation pill wasn't in the pill formula that Master Yu had left for her, but that didn't mean that she couldn't refine it. And didn't they have the reincarnation pill's pill formula? It would be best if Leng Ruoxue could refine it, but if she couldn't, they could just give up completely. With that thought in mind, Huiyu immediately nodded and ordered someone to bring the reincarnation pill's recipe over. He then carefully handed it over to Leng Ruoxue. After that, the entire room of Qilins, including the few elders who had been crying miserably earlier, all stared at Leng Ruoxue with anticipation. Their actions instantly gave Leng Ruoxue a huge amount of pressure. After calming herself down, Leng Ruoxue began to examine the pill formula carefully. As Huiyu had said, the reincarnation pill required a lot of herbs. Leng Ruoxue took a quick glance and realized that it required at least 10,000 types of herbs, and these were just supplementary ingredients. The reincarnation pill required thousands of main ingredients and herbs. Looking at the densely packed medicinal herb names and annotations on the pill formula, Leng Ruoxue could not help but admire the perseverance of the Qilin race. Such a wide variety of medicinal pills with extremely high requirements for the age of the medicinal herbs, it would indeed take tens of thousands of years to prepare. More importantly, it could not be collected just with time. Sometimes, it could easily cause people to lose their willpower. However, this also showed the importance of the reincarnation pill to the Qilin race. After she finished reading the pill formula, Leng Ruoxue felt immense pressure as she faced the countless pairs of expectant eyes. "Miss Leng, how is it? Can you make it?" Seeing that Leng Ruoxue didn't say anything, Huiyu, who couldn't wait any longer, took the initiative to ask. "Your Excellency Fire You, to be honest, after I read the recipe of the reincarnation pill, I realized that the reincarnation pill not only has high requirements for the herbs it needs, but also for the alchemist who makes it," Leng Ruoxue said honestly. After a pause, she continued, "There are so many herbs with different melting points. If you're not careful, you may cause one of the herbs to lose its best efficacy. At the same time, it will affect the success of the pill and the use of the reincarnation pill. Therefore, this pill is a test of the alchemist's control of the fire. Currently, I don't have the confidence to succeed in one try." "Then how many times can you succeed?" Upon hearing this, Huiyu quickly asked, unable to hide the excitement and joy in his heart. Thanks, it could be said that Leng Ruoxue's answer was beyond its expectations. This was a huge surprise for the Qilin clan. As expected of Master Ye's disciple. Initially, Huiyu, who was trying to make a Hail Mary effort, didn't dare to have too much hope. However, Leng Ruoxue's words allowed it to see a glimmer of hope. It was really too excited. "I don't know," Leng Ruoxue could only tell the truth as she looked at the Fire Yu, who was obviously overexcited. The Fire Yu became dejected after hearing this, but it quickly pulled itself together and said to Leng Ruoxue, "I believe that with Miss Leng's alchemy skills, she will be able to refine the reincarnation pill one day. We are willing to wait. We only hope that when Miss Leng is able to refine the reincarnation pill, you can help us to refine the pill. At that time, our Qilin clan will definitely treat Miss Leng as a distinguished guest. As long as I can make it, I won't let you down. But the reincarnation pill requires too many herbs. I'm afraid I can't do anything," Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. In other words, she didn't have any herbs to practice on. If she waited until she collected enough herbs, tens of thousands of years would have passed. She didn't know if the Qilin clan could afford to wait. The Fire Yu was a smart person. It knew that an alchemist would need a large number of herbs during the trial. Hence, after Leng Ruoxue said this, it immediately expressed that it was willing to provide Leng Ruoxue with the herbs she needed to refine the reincarnation pill. When Leng Ruoxue heard this, she was naturally overjoyed. One must know that the reincarnation pill could also be considered a challenge for her. After all, she had never used so many herbs at once just to refine one kind of medicinal pill. The medicinal herbs required for the reincarnation pill were indeed a headache for her. There were so many medicinal herbs that could not be collected with money. One also needed enough time and patience, and these were all extremely challenging. Now that the Qilin clan was willing to provide her with medicinal herbs to practice her skills, Leng Ruoxue was more than happy to do so. But at the same time, she was also a little depressed because the facts in front of her once again proved that in comparison, the Qilin race was the true nouveau riche. After being depressed for a while, Leng Ruoxue asked impatiently, "Your Excellency Fire You, when can you give me the herbs needed for the reincarnation pill?" This. I'm afraid we'll have to wait for some time. We've been collecting for tens of thousands of years, but we're still short of 2 herbs. Besides, the most important main herb of the reincarnation pill, the reincarnation grass, still needs 50 years to reach 10,000 years. After hesitating for a while, Huiyu explained with some embarrassment. It truly felt that it had let Leng Ruoxue down. In order to refine the reincarnation pill for them, she had been so enthusiastic about the trial, but they had not even prepared all the medicinal herbs. Sob. It had let down Leng Ruoxue's enthusiasm. However, Leng Ruoxue clearly did not realize what it was thinking. This was because she was already dumbfounded when she heard that the reincarnation grass needed another 50 years to reach 10,000 years. Didn't this mean that she would only have the chance to refine the reincarnation pill after 50 years? Such a fact caused Leng Ruoxue to be in a mess. Wait, what did Huiyu mean by caught? Your Excellency Fire Guangdong, can you give me the reincarnation herb? I have a way to turn it into a 10,000-year-old reincarnation grass in a month. Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. In fact, she had said too much. As long as the reincarnation grass was planted in the bracelet and time was accelerated, it would become a 10,000-year-old reincarnation grass in less than 2 days. However, she did not intend to tell them about the space, so she could only say a time that she thought everyone could accept. However, it was clear that the Fire Yu was still greatly shocked when it heard Leng Ruoxue's words. However, it immediately felt relieved. After all, Leng Ruoxue was Master Ye's disciple, so it was normal for her to have some special means. Therefore, without discussing with the elders, Fire Yu immediately nodded and said, "Sure. If Miss Leng can really turn the reincarnation herb into a 10,000-year-old reincarnation herb in 1 month, I will also try my best to deliver the 2 medicinal herbs that have not been caught to Miss Leng in 1 month." Chapter 2750, The Shrewd Buddha's Hand Flower, 2, What Herbs Need to be Grabbed? Leng Ruoxue took the opportunity to ask curiously. He. It was mimosa and Buddha's hand flower. The 2 little things had thousands of years of cultivation. Although they couldn't transform into human form, they had developed intelligence, so they were very cunning. We've been trying to catch them for a long time, but we haven't been able to catch them. Huiyu explained helplessly. When Leng Ruoxue heard these 2 names, her eyes lit up. One must know that these 2 heavenly treasures were born together. Wherever mimosa was, there would be Buddha's hand flower. The 2 were inseparable. Moreover, just from the name, mimosa was a very timid herb, but it was this very timid little thing that carried a great poison. The Buddha's hand flower was the herb that could detoxify mimosa's great poison, but only after being poisoned by mimosa could one consume the Buddha's hand flower. If one consumed the Buddha's hand flower alone, the detoxified mimosa would also turn into a great poison. This was the wonder of nature. Leng Ruoxue had also heard of the names of these 2 precious herbs from the notes her master had left behind, but she had never seen them before. Now that she had such a good opportunity, and it was even a 1,000-year-old mimosa and Buddha's hand flower, she naturally did not want to let it go. After thinking for a while, she said to Huiyu directly, "Your Excellency Fire Yu, can I go with you to catch them?" "Of course you can. I was going to hand them over to you when I caught them, but those 2 herbs are very cunning. Ever since we found their whereabouts, they have been playing hide and seek with us. Their growing environment is quite harsh, I wonder if Miss Leng can stand it." Huiyu reminded him worriedly. "Don't worry, I can take the pain," Leng Ruoxue promised. "All right, get ready. We'll leave the day after tomorrow." After thinking for a while, Fire Guangdong said. "Sure." Leng Ruoxue nodded, then said with some hesitation, "Your Excellency Fire Yu, can I plead on Feng Ye's behalf? He and I have some relationship, I hope that Your Excellency Fire Lit can let him out on my account." Upon hearing this, Fire Jade nodded. Now that it needed Leng Ruoxue's help, it would naturally grant her any request. Even though Leng Ruoxue did not have absolute confidence that she could successfully concoct the reincarnation pill, hope was always a good thing. Moreover, releasing Feng Yi was not a big deal, so of course, it would not reject her. Furthermore, it was also clear what Leng Ruoxue meant by history. It could not afford to offend that little kitten. Not long after, Feng Yi was brought to the meeting hall. The moment he saw Leng Ruoxue, Feng Yi immediately hugged her leg and wailed, "Wu Shuer, you're the best, you're the most loyal. When those bad guys saw that I was locked up, they all hit me when I was down, All of them were a bunch of disloyal bastards. I hate them. I've decided to follow you from now on. If you want me to go east, I won't go west. If you want me to devote my body to you, I won't hesitate anymore. I won't think that you're not my type anymore. From now on, you're the goddess in my heart." When Leng Ruoxue heard Feng Yi's words, she really wanted to kick him out of the meeting hall. This fellow, it was fine if he embarrassed himself, but now he even dragged her down with him. This was really unbearable. However, in the Qilin clan, Leng Ruoxue still felt that she should give Fire Yu some face. Hence, she endured Feng Yi's abnormal behavior and looked at Fire Yu apologetically. Who knew that Hui Yu was also looking at her apologetically? Instantly, the two of them felt a little awkward. After calming herself down, Leng Ruoxue stood up calmly. After greeting Hui Yu, she removed her leg from Feng Yi's arm and turned to leave the meeting hall. Thanks watching Leng Ruoxue's back view, Fire Yu sighed repeatedly. At this moment, it really felt that it was a good thing that Feng Yi had lost to a cat. Otherwise, the Qilin clan's face would have been completely lost by him. When Feng Yi, who was left behind, saw that Leng Ruoxue had left, he hurriedly chased after her. From afar, Feng Yi shouted, "Wait for me." Shuer. He floated back to the meeting hall. All the Qilins present covered their faces and really wanted to pretend that they didn't know Feng Yi. When it was time to set off to catch Mimosa and the Buddha's hand flower, Fire Yu naturally sent someone to invite Leng Ruoxue, the 3 humans, and the 5 beasts. However, not long after, it saw Feng Yi, who was standing beside Leng Ruoxue with a bashful look on his face, in the other party's team. The corner of his mouth twitched, and Hui Yu couldn't help but think, is this guy going to follow me? This was not good news. But it soon confirmed that Feng Yi was going. When Leng Ruoxue told Fire Yu about the bad news, she immediately saw Fire Yu's constipated expression. In an instant, Leng Ruoxue's mood brightened. It seemed that it wasn't enough for him to be unlucky. It was great to see others be unlucky. However, the two of them seemed to be brothers in the same boat. Hence, Leng Ruoxue only patted Hui Yu's big head to comfort him. Everything was clear without words. Hui Yu understood Leng Ruoxue's meaning and returned a look of take care. The Qilin and Leng Ruoxue's team of 3 people and 5 beasts officially set off. According to the information provided by Fire Yu, Mimosa and Buddha's hand flower were supposed to live in the cold mountains, but ever since the 2 little guys started playing hide-and-seek with the Qilin clan, the 2 treasures had disappeared, which made it more difficult for them to find them. However, Hui Yu was very confident that the 2 cunning little things would not run too far away. After all, they could not transform into human form yet. Based on this deduction, Leng Ruoxue and the others were prepared to conduct a thorough search of the mountain where they had originally discovered the 2 great treasures. The mountain where Mimosa and the Buddha's hand flower grew was not far from the Qilin clan's territory. Under the Qilin clan's lead, Leng Ruoxue and the others arrived at the foot of the mountain where they had found the 2 precious herbs after 2 hours. Looking at the small mountain that was only as tall as a person, Leng Ruoxue's face darkened. This mountain was unusually small. Moreover, there was only one mountain, and it was surrounded by weeds. It was hard to imagine that such a mountain could produce heavenly treasures. Filled with doubts, Leng Ruoxue looked at Hui Yu and asked, "Your Excellency Fire Guangdong, are you sure we want to carry out a thorough search in this mountain?" Was there a need to search? With a sweep of his divine sense, he would know if there were any unfamiliar auras. Well, according to my nearly 1,000 years of experience in fighting with those 2 little things, they won't go too far away from their home. So, as long as we hide and wait here, we'll definitely be able to catch them. Hui Yu said confidently. It turned out that he was waiting for an opportunity. This time, Leng Ruoxue finally understood. After that, she didn't say anything and started to search the mountain with Fire Yu and the other Qilin. After entering the mountain, Leng Ruoxue was surprised to find that the mountain looked small from the outside, but in reality, the inside of the mountain was very wide and cold. The mountain stream was so wide that one couldn't see the end. Wild grass grew very densely, and of course, there were some medicinal herbs mixed among the wild grass. However, it was a huge task to pick out the medicinal herbs from the many wild grass. Chapter 2751, The Shrewd Buddha's Hand Flower. 3. Leng Ruoxue had delegated this huge project to Feng Yi. When Feng Yi heard Leng Ruoxue's order, he instinctively wanted to reject her. However, he remembered what he had said not long ago and felt that he should not slap himself in the face. So, he could only resign himself to his fate and go pull out the weeds. Seeing that Feng Yi was working hard with his butt sticking out, Fire Yu gave Leng Ruoxue a look of admiration and said in a low voice, "Miss Leng, you're so good at controlling your husband. Don't you know how to talk, dear?" This wasn't a word that could be used casually. Leng Ruoxue broke out in a cold sweat. Luckily, the demon was not here. Otherwise, she would have exploded in anger if she heard this. Leng Ruoxue carefully observed her surroundings. When she realized that no one was paying attention to her and Hui Yu, she replied softly, "Your Excellency Fire Yu, you've got it wrong. He's not my husband, so you can't say that I'm good at controlling my husband." "Oh. Then what should I say?" Hui Yu asked in high spirits, not feeling ashamed to ask. Leng Ruoxue's face darkened again. Then, she put on a straight face and said in a serious tone, "You don't have to say anything. He's my servant now. Whatever I order him to do, he has to do it obediently." Yes, you're a good queen." Hui Yu's eyes were full of stars as he said with a face full of admiration. Hearing this, Leng Ruoxue fell silent. She wanted to cry but had no tears. Was this the Fire Yu she knew? Are you sure it hasn't been replaced? After sizing up the Fire Yu from head to toe, Leng Ruoxue had no choice but to admit pessimistically that the fiery red Qilin with starry eyes was undoubtedly the Fire Yu. However, she had no idea why the acting clan leader of the Qilin clan, who was still considered normal before, had suddenly become like this. However, this kind of Fire Yu was rather terrifying, wasn't it? After taking a few deep breaths, Leng Ruoxue was at a loss for words. But at least, she was at peace now. Then, she found a place to sit down. After an unknown period of time, the Qilins that had been sent out by Fire Yu to carry out a carpet search returned to the gathering point with nothing. Afraid that the Qilins would be sad, Hui Yu consoled them first. Then, they temporarily lived in the house that Master Ning had contributed, monitoring every grass and tree in the mountain at all times. Just like that, half a month passed by quickly. The cunning mimosa and Buddha's hand flower that Hui Yu mentioned still didn't appear. For a moment, the Qilins were somewhat anxious. Seeing that they could not keep their cool, Leng Ruoxue could only tell them that the reincarnation grass had already grown into a 10,000-year-old reincarnation grass to comfort them. As expected, after hearing the good news, the Qilins' morale was boosted. They decided to find mimosa and Buddha's hand flower as soon as possible. On a certain day, Green Vessel, who had been monitoring the situation in the mountains, suddenly spoke to Leng Ruoxue, "Sister, I think I've found those two little fellows." "Really? Where are they?" Leng Ruoxue asked in surprise. "If I'm not wrong, they should be hiding in the mountain wall." Qing Ju replied. "Inside the mountain wall? Can treasures of heaven and earth be found there?" Leng Ruoxue was very surprised. However, if Qing Ju's senses were correct, those two little fellows were really good at hiding. "I don't think so, but all treasures have their own abilities. Those two little guys might be able to hide there," Qing Ju said after thinking. As he did not have these two treasures, Green Vessel only knew some of their well-known characteristics. He did not know anything about the two little fellows. As such, he did not dare to be too confident. However, it was enough for Leng Ruoxue to understand what he meant. After that, Leng Ruoxue called for the fire yu. She brought the Qilin, Uncle Long, Godfather and the 5 little beasts, and they headed towards the weakest part of the mountain. When they arrived at the mountain wall, Huiyu looked at Leng Ruoxue with uncertainty. Miss Leng, is it really possible that the 2 heavenly treasures are living here? I don't know. We need to go in and look for it. Leng Ruoxue said irresponsibly. She did not want to expose Qingju, so she could only play dumb. When Fire Yu heard this, it was indeed very depressed. However, it had no other choice. It could only order the Qilin to smash a cave that was half the height of a human on the mountain wall. Then, the Qilin all transformed into their human forms and walked in together. Thanks when they walked into the cave, they were surprised to find that the mountain wall was indeed empty. The spiritual qi inside was actually very rich. This time, Huiyu's confidence increased greatly. The Qilin's search also became more vigorous. They searched little by little. After an unknown period of time, Leng Ruoxue and the others still did not find anything. Instantly, the Qilin's spirits were once again dampened. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue's sharp eyes noticed 2 rays of green light sneakily passing by their feet. Without a second thought, she immediately chased after the 2 rays of green light. When Fire Yu saw this, it did not hesitate to cooperate with Leng Ruoxue to surround and block them. At this time, everyone present reacted. For a moment, the scene was extremely chaotic, but the 2 green lights were also being chased in all directions. Ha ha ha. As expected, he's here. Let's see where you can run to now. Huiyu was a little excited. He had recognized the 2 green lights to be the mimosa and the Buddha's hand flower that they had been looking for. Then, the Fire Yu threw out a translucent net. The net directly ran towards the 2 green lights and quickly fell, enveloping the 2 green lights. Just as the net was about to be pulled back by the Fire Yu, a green light escaped. The Fire Yu saw this and quickly pulled back its net. At this time, there was only a lonely pink flower in the net. The pink flower was only the size of a palm. It had emerald green leaves that were shaped like a human palm. The veins on it were clear and crystal clear. It was quite beautiful and exquisite. It was the Buddha's hand flower. However, this little flower obviously had a bad temper. After being caught, it kept struggling and even scolded Huiyu for being shameless. However, after waiting for so long, he finally had some gains. Therefore, Huiyu was in a good mood and allowed the little flower to curse in his hands. Leng Ruoxue took the angry Buddha's hand flower from Huiyu's hand and gently stroked its petals. The flower quieted down instantly and stopped making noise. It just stayed quietly in Leng Ruoxue's hand. Upon seeing this, Huiyu was quite surprised. He reached out to poke the petals of the Buddha's hand flower out of boredom and sighed, "Are you bullying the weak and fearing the strong?" Although Huiyu had never thought that he was a pushover, the truth was right in front of his eyes. He had no choice but to believe it. AI. This was really bullying. Get lost. Don't touch me, you big pervert. The Buddha's hand flower felt that it had been taken advantage of. After being poked a few times by the Fire Yu, it roared in anger. Then, it rubbed against Leng Ruoxue's jade-like hand as if it had suffered a great grievance. Hearing this, Leng Ruoxue's forehead was covered in cold sweat. This little flower's mind was really complicated. Huiyu, who was scolded as a pervert, immediately pulled a long face. "You're just a flower, okay? You can't even transform, and you dare to call me a pervert?" Huiyu felt that he was really wronged. This broken flower was really too unreasonable. If it wasn't for the fact that it was still useful, Huiyu couldn't guarantee that it wouldn't destroy it. You bastard! It was really too detestable. However, the Buddha's hand flower was obviously very bold, or perhaps it felt that Leng Ruoxue was backing it up. Hence, it replied fearlessly, So what if I can't transform? Just because I can't transform, I can be jabbed around by you. I'm telling you, I'm a Buddha's hand flower with principles. You guys stay away from me. I'm not interested in you guys. I'm not interested in you either. Upon hearing this, Huiyu was so angry that he almost exploded. Hearing Huiyu and the Buddha's hand flower bickering, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but want to cover her face. This quarrel was really too meaningless. At this moment, a weak voice sounded, I beg you, let the little Buddha go. Xiao Shan, don't beg them. Leave this place quickly. As long as they can't catch you, they won't kill me. Upon hearing this, the Buddha's hand flower, which was in high spirits and quarreling with Huiyu like a cockfight, immediately changed its target and said to a light green delicate grass. No, I'm not leaving. I can't watch you get caught by them. I have to save you. The light green grass said stubbornly. Why are you so disobedient? When the Buddha's hand flower heard this, it immediately became anxious. Then, it had a flash of inspiration and the flower turned to Leng Ruoxue and said, Human, I know you're with them, but you have a presence that I like. So, if you're willing to help us, Xiao Shan and I are willing to follow you. But you can't hand us over to these Qilins. Leng Ruoxue could not help but laugh when she heard the Buddha's hand flower's conditions. This Buddha's hand flower was really smart. It didn't look like a treasure at all. More importantly, this little flower was very bold. It had already been captured, but it still dared to negotiate and even seemed to be instigating. What do you think, human? Seeing that Leng Ruoxue only smiled slightly and did not speak, Buddha's hand flower could not help but ask. Not much. Don't you know your current situation? Do you think you have the right to negotiate with me? Leng Ruoxue teased him on purpose. That's right, little broken flower, you're too overconfident. Huiyu sneered. Get lost, stinky Qilin. It's none of your business. You can go play in the mud. I'm not even talking to you. Huiyu's interruption made the Buddha's hand flower rather unhappy. Hence, it didn't reply to Leng Ruoxue's words and instead took the lead to attack the Fire verbally. Chapter 2752, The Secret of the Qilin Clan, 1. After attacking Huiyu, the Buddha's hand flower immediately shook its pink petals and rubbed against Leng Ruoxue in an attempt to please her. It said gently, Human, although I've been captured, I'm not afraid. At worst, I'll just die. What's the big deal? However, I want you to know that I'm more useful alive. At least, I'm much more useful than these stinky Qilin. So, you won't regret choosing to protect us. While the Buddha's hand flower was talking, Mimosa had been floating nearby, looking at them worriedly. Leng Ruoxue, on the other hand, didn't give any response after listening to the flower's rambunctious words. Seeing that, the Buddha's hand flower was a little anxious, but it was always calm, so it didn't show it. Instead, it was Mimosa who couldn't hold it in anymore and said loudly, Human, don't kill the little Buddha. Woo, I'm willing to exchange myself for his freedom. Please let it go. With that, Mimosa wanted to run towards Leng Ruoxue, but the Buddha's hand flower was so angry that it stopped him. Xiao Shu, stay where you are and don't move. Otherwise, I'll never talk to you again. The Buddha's hand flower was very anxious. Silly little shyness, if you fall into the hands of these bad guys, they really won't have any way to live. However, Mimosa didn't understand the anxiety in Buddha's hand flower's heart at all, but it was very obedient, so when Buddha's hand flower told it to stand still, it really did. Leng Ruoxue was rather surprised to see this. It seemed like between the two little fellows, Mimosa was following the Buddha's hand flower's lead. At this moment, the Buddha's hand flower said to Leng Ruoxue, Human, what do you think? If you don't agree, well, just fight to the death. In any case, I won't let myself fall into the hands of these Qilin. The Buddha's hand flower was obviously a little stubborn when it said this. At the same time, it made Leng Ruoxue not know whether to laugh or cry. Why did this little guy have his eyes on her? Could it be that this was the so-called picking the big one from the pile? Compared to the Qilin, I'm more pleasing to the eye. Leng Ruoxue didn't know if she should feel honored or not. She saw Huiyu winking at her, as if he wanted her to agree. If that was the case, the two little fellows would be in her hands. However, Len Ruoshua didn't think that with the Buddha's hand flower, these two little fellows would be at their mercy. Hence, she didn't follow Hui Yu's instructions. Instead, she remained calm and said, I really want to know what these Qilin did to you. Why do you hate them so much? Len Ruoshua could not figure it out no matter how much she thought about it. This was also something that the Fire Yu and the other Qilins wanted to know. So, when Len Ruoshua asked this question, they all perked up their ears and listened carefully. Those bad Qilins captured us to kill us. How could we not hate them? They've also captured us for nearly 1,000 years, causing Xiaoshan and I to hide here and there, unable to return home. How can we not hate them? The Buddha's hand flower said hatefully. The petals it had obtained had turned red to show its anger. After Len Ruoshua heard this, she looked at Hui Yu with sympathy. Just because of this? Wasn't it normal for heavenly treasures to be pursued after they were discovered? But obviously, the Buddha's hand flower didn't think so. It had even regarded the Qilin clan as its mortal enemy. They would rather rely on her than let the Kirin get them. Smiling helplessly, Len Ruoshua couldn't help but remind him, don't you know that I'm on the same side as these Qilins? You're still willing to follow me? I'm an alchemist, so I'm naturally looking for you to concoct alchemical pills. In your hearts, this should also be considered killing you, right? Do you still dare to join me? Thanks. Buddha's hand flower was speechless. After a long time, it spoke again, although you're an alchemist, as long as you give us a chance to live, we won't die. But these Qilins are different. They're too rough and don't know how to be gentle with women, so if we fall into their hands, only death awaits us. I have too many friends who have been captured by them. I can't end up like my little friends. When the Buddha's hand flower said this, it was so excited that its petals trembled even more violently. After Len Ruoshua heard this, she glanced at Hui Yu indifferently and used her gaze to ask him about the Buddha's hand flower. All the treasures we've caught are still alive and well. We didn't kill them at all. Hui Yu had no choice but to say. Isn't that just a matter of time? The Buddha's hand flower's impression of Hui Yu was extremely bad. No matter what he said, he didn't intend to believe him. This fact made Hui Yu very helpless. He looked at Len Ruoshua for help. Len Ruoshua laughed to herself, but she still replied kindly, His Excellency Fire Yu is right. Those heavenly treasures are still alive. Moreover, I will need them in the future. So little guy, you've wronged the Qilin clan. Although they caught you, I might be the one who killed you. The reason why she said this was that she hoped that the Buddha's hand flower could recognize the reality in front of it and not recognize the thief as its master. Of course, she was not a thief, but according to the logic of the Buddha's hand flower, she was probably close. Unexpectedly, after Len Ruoshua finished speaking, the Buddha's hand flower started laughing. Then, the Buddha's hand flower said, Human, I've said it before. You have a smell that I like. I believe that you will treat the natural treasures well. Therefore, if it ends up in someone else's hands, I'd rather it be you. Len Ruoshua didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she heard this. She didn't know that the Buddha's hand flower would think this way, but she couldn't deny that it was really smart and knew that she was no threat to it. Sigh. She couldn't help but be soft-hearted when facing this smart little guy. Since you've already decided, then follow me from now on. Although I need you to concoct pills for me, I won't kill you. Len Ruoshua promised seriously. Yes, human, I believe you. The Buddha's hand flower was naturally ecstatic when it saw that its goal had been achieved. At this moment, the light green grass slowly floated over and hovered around Len Ruoshua. It believed in the little Buddha's judgment, and the little Buddha's choice was naturally its choice. Upon seeing this, Hui Yu and the other Qilins couldn't help but widen their eyes in disbelief. He was subdued just like that. Mimosa and Buddha's hand flower, who had been fighting with them for almost 1,000 years, had obviously thrown themselves into Len Ruoxia's arms. Could this be the aura of a king? The Qilins sized up Leng Ruoxue from head to toe. They looked at her until her hair stood on end. She turned her head and glared at them before the Qilin reluctantly retracted their gazes as if they were looking at a monster. AI. Comparing humans to beasts would drive beasts to their deaths. The Qilins were a little shocked, but no matter what, this trip was not in vain. With these two medicinal herbs, there was hope for the refinement of the reincarnation pill. As soon as they thought of this, they instantly became extremely excited. Chapter 2753, The Secret of the Qilin Clan. 2. Young Miss Leng, let's quickly return to the Qilin clan. Huiyu, who couldn't wait any longer, immediately suggested. All right, he said. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Then, with the Buddha's hand flower in one hand and mimosa in the other, she followed behind the Qilin and returned to the Qilin clan. Along the way, Leng Ruoxue was chatting non-stop with the flower and the grass. She knew that the mountain wall they were on had a natural barrier that allowed them to hide from the Qilin clan for close to 1,000 years. Leng Ruoxue was rather surprised by the barrier. If it wasn't for the fact that the Qilin clan was in a hurry to return, she would have returned to the mountain wall to observe it. The wonders of nature were truly amazing. After returning to the Qilin clan, Huiyu immediately sent someone to deliver all the medicinal herbs to Leng Ruoxue and strictly ordered no one to disturb her. His purpose was to let Leng Ruoxue focus on refining the reincarnation pill. Leng Ruoxue naturally understood the Qilin clan's thoughts. However, she suggested that she hoped the Qilin clan could send someone to Demon City to bring Shen Nua, Jiang Ning, and Lu Yue over. With the three vice-presidents of the Alchemist Guild headquarters discussing the reincarnation pill together, she believed that they would be able to refine it very quickly. The Fire Yu naturally did not object when it heard this. It had also heard of the three alchemists. Immediately, it sent its subordinates to the Demon City. During this period of time, Leng Ruoxue had been staying in the Bengal, trying to bond with the two newly arrived heaven and earth treasures. When the Buddha's hand flower saw its new home, it was even more satisfied with Leng Ruoxue. It even said smugly, "Hee hee. Human, I knew I had good taste. This place is perfect for me and Shai Lai. From now on, we don't have to hide here and there like stray dogs anymore." After that, the Buddha's hand flower started to wail loudly, and Mimosa cried as well. Two young and tender voices immediately resounded through the space, attracting the attention of many natural treasures. Many of the little fellows who could transform gathered in front of Leng Ruoxue and called her "Big Sister" excitedly. Then, they turned their curious gazes to the two new companions. "Big Sister, why are they crying?" A chubby, white baby that Leng Ruoxue had never seen before blinked his big, confused eyes and asked in confusion. "They're crying tears of joy." "That. You are?" After Leng Ruoxue finished explaining, she could not help but ask. "Sister, I'm the reincarnation grass. You were the one who planted me here, so how could you forget me?" The little child said sadly, his dark and bright eyes slowly filled with tears. Leng Ruoxue looked at the other party's stance and felt her head throb. Why was it another little thing that loved to cry? "Little Samsara, how could I forget you? I'm just a little surprised because I've never seen you in human form." Leng Ruoxue coaxed. "Is that really the case?" The moment the reincarnation grass heard this, its tears stopped flowing. Instead, its eyes continued to well up as it looked at Leng Ruoxue with uncertainty. "Of course it's like this." Leng Ruoxue nodded and promised. "Don't worry, I won't lie." At this moment, another child at the side testified. With his little friend as a witness, the reincarnation grass immediately believed Leng Ruoxue's words and broke into a smile. At the same time, a confused voice choked with sobs sounded, "Why are you guys calling this human Big Sister?" Thanks, the one who spoke was the Buddha's hand flower that had been wailing earlier. Now, it was no longer crying. Instead, its petals trembled with a curious look. Obviously, it was a little confused. "Hee hee. She's our big sister." A little child picked up the Buddha's hand flower and touched its soft petals. Oh. Then does that mean Xiaoshu and I will have to call her big sister in the future? Buddha's hand Hua Sha nodded and asked. It's up to you, you can call it whatever you want. Leng Ruoxue said to the Buddha's hand flower with a smile. No, I have to do as the Romans do. This will be my home in the future. I can't be special. The Buddha's hand flower disagreed. Hearing the Buddha's hand flower's theory, Leng Ruoxue was truly impressed. How did this little flower know how to do as the Romans do when in Rome? It was too amazing. What she didn't know was that the Buddha's hand flower and Mimosa had seen too many humans and beasts during their battle with the Qilin clan. Hence, they had learned a lot of languages. The thing about languages had always been broad and profound. The Buddha's hand flower was smart enough to draw inferences from one instance. Hence, it created the Buddha's hand flower that Leng Ruoxue was looking at. However, ever since the Buddha's hand flower discovered the special feature of the mountain wall, it and Mimosa had been on the run for less and less time, so the knowledge it came into contact with was limited. However, just this alone was enough for Leng Ruoxue to feel that this little flower had its own opinions and was different from the rest. On the contrary, Mimosa always looked shy, which made people want to dote on him more. The two little fellows each had their own merits. Leng Ruoxue's team of heaven and earth treasures had 2 new members. As for the other medicinal herbs that Huiyu had given her, although there was no lack of treasures of heaven and earth among them, very few of them had spiritual consciousness. Even if they had spiritual consciousness, it was very weak. Thus, Leng Ruoxue could not communicate with them at all. She had handed them over to Qingju to handle. A few days later, Shen Nuo and the rest had arrived. However, it was not only the 3 of them who came. The first elder, Mo Yen, Lu Feng, and the cheapskate old ancestor had all come. Of course, Leng Ruoxue absolutely believed that the 4 of them were just here to join in the fun out of boredom. The entire Qilin clan welcomed them warmly, and they could not help but feel overwhelmed by the unexpected favor. They really wanted to know what Shuer had done to deserve such treatment from the Qilin clan. Don't tell me that the Qilin race has admired them for a long time. That was just a lie to a child. Even if Shen Nuo and the other 2 were alchemists, they would not think that the Qilin clan would treat them so well. After all, the pride and reclusiveness of the Qilin clan were well known in the immortal realm. The few of them who could not figure it out pulled Leng Ruoxue aside and asked her for a long time before they finally found out the reason. When they heard that Leng Ruoxue was preparing to refine the reincarnation pill, Shen Nuo, Jiang Ning, and Luyu's eyes widened in disbelief. They were so excited that they were speechless. Seeing their reaction, Leng Ruoxue knew that the 3 of them must have heard of the reincarnation pill. When Luyue saw Leng Ruoxue's expression as if she was waiting for them to explain, she laughed in embarrassment before saying, "The reincarnation pill is a legendary pill." However, this kind of legend is obviously different from the other legends because this pill is a real pill that cannot be successfully refined. First of all, the number of herbs required is quite shocking. It's not possible to collect all of them in a short time. To put it in a way that would strike a blow to their morale, top forces like the 8 divine regions would probably never be able to gather enough medicinal herbs to refine the reincarnation pill in their entire lives. Secondly, the reincarnation pill also had a requirement for the heat control, and this heat control was basically reflected in the flame. An ordinary alchemist's flame would not be able to melt all the medicinal herbs within the specified time. In this way, it would definitely affect the medicinal properties of the medicinal herbs. Even for the reincarnation pill, this is an insurmountable gap. As such, the reincarnation pill can only become a legend. Luyue sighed and finally gave a simple explanation. Chapter 2754, The Secret of the Qilin Clan, 3, Shuer. We've only heard of this reincarnation pill in the historical records of the Alchemist Guild headquarters. According to the legends, the reincarnation pill was created by Master Yu and only Master Yu has ever successfully refined it. However, the only reincarnation pill in the legends should have fallen into the hands of Wu Yan. Shen Nuo recalled for a moment and continued Liyu's sentence. Shuer, you said you want to refine the reincarnation pill, but where can I find the herbs? What you have in your hands is not enough. Jiang Ning said with an excited expression. The Qilin clan will provide the medicinal herbs. They have been collecting for tens of thousands of years just for one reincarnation pill. However, I'm not sure if I can successfully refine it, so I asked Huiyu to bring you here to study it together. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. Ha ha ha. I knew Shuer was the best, she didn't forget to think of us even when there's such a good opportunity. However, we really don't have much confidence in the reincarnation pill, at most we'll be your assistants. At this moment, Jiang Ning was being modest. With 3 Alchemist Guild's vice guild leaders assisting me, my treatment is really good enough. Thank you all. Leng Ruoxue teased him and thanked him sincerely. However, Jiang Ning and the others didn't need her to be so polite. Following that, Leng Ruoxue unintentionally caught a glimpse of First Elder's pensive look. She could not help but ask out of curiosity, "What's wrong, Grand Elder? Is there something on your mind?" "No, I'm just thinking if the Qilin race is asking for the reincarnation pill for their chief." The Great Elder suddenly burst out with shocking words. "You're saying..." Hearing this, Master Ning and Uncle Long immediately reacted and looked at the First Elder without blinking. The two of them had lived for a long time, so they naturally understood what the Great Elder meant. But was this possible? But thinking about it carefully, the fact that the Qilin race was willing to spend tens of thousands of years to collect these herbs, the importance of this reincarnation pill was naturally self-evident. At the thought of this, Master Ning said to Leng Ruoxue with a serious expression, "Shuer, it's a good thing the Grand Elder reminded me. The reason why the Qilin race needs the reincarnation pill is probably for the Patriarch. Tens of thousands of years ago, not long after Master Yu fell, there was a rumor that the Qilin clan leader was severely injured and would not live long. However, at that time, none of us believed it, because the Qilin clan leader was the most powerful beastie in the immortal realm. It was possible to say that he was injured, but to say that he would die was obviously false news that someone had intentionally released to confuse us. That's why most people don't believe it." Afterwards, the Qilin clan's patriarch personally appeared and proved that the rumors were false. However, the Qilin clan's patriarch used seclusion as an excuse and never appeared in the divine realm again. Of course, to cultivators, it was normal to go into seclusion for tens of thousands of years. However, for tens of thousands of years, the Qilin clan had been collecting the medicinal herbs to refine the reincarnation pill. This was somewhat abnormal. After all, the reincarnation pill was not an ordinary healing pill. If it wasn't for the fact that an important figure of the Qilin clan was injured, how could the Qilin clan be in such a state? Everyone nodded at Master Ning's words. Then, Uncle Long said, "Shuer, the patriarch of the Qilin clan is also my senior. Furthermore, that senior's reputation in the divine realm is rather high. It can be said that he's a great figure like a god in the eyes of all the magical beasts in the divine realm. If it's really as we've guessed, that he's heavily injured and needs to consume the reincarnation pill, then I hope that you'll do your best. This is not just to build a good relationship with the Qilin clan, but also for the development of the magical beasts in the divine realm. The current beast race really needs such an important figure to lead them." "I understand." Leng Ruoxue nodded her head seriously. After that, she brought Shin Nua, Luyue, and Jiang Ning into seclusion to research the reincarnation pill. The process of waiting was naturally extremely long. Ever since Leng Ruoxue went into closed-door cultivation, the entire Qilin clan, from the Fire Yu to the ordinary Qilin, had their eyes on the room that Leng Ruoxue had used as her temporary pill room. Seeing how nervous they were, Uncle Long couldn't help but comfort them. "Your Excellency Fire Yu, I suggest you calm down. Pill refining is different from other things, especially refining this kind of legendary pill. It can't be completed in a short time. So, if you guys continue to be so nervous, I'm afraid that you'll collapse before Shue'er's reincarnation pill is refined." "I understand, but I can't help but be nervous. We've been collecting herbs for tens of thousands of years just for this moment," Huiyu said with a worried expression. Upon seeing this, Uncle Long carefully asked, "Is it for the Qilin clan leader?" "How did you know?" The Fire Yu was shocked. It didn't say anything. How did the other party guess it? Seeing Hui Yu's frightened face, Uncle Long was speechless. He thought, it's written all over your face. How can I not know? How low was his IQ then? Other than the Qilin clan leader, I can't think of any other reason that would make the entire Qilin clan go all out. AI. The Qilin clan leader is a true hero in my heart. Other than Master Yu, he is the one I admire the most. Uncle Long said, playing the emotional card. Thanks. Upon hearing this, Hui Yu's shock turned into excitement. He excitedly pulled Uncle Long's arm and said, Brother, thank you for your appreciation of our clan leader. Just as you said, the chief is also the hero of our Qilin clan, the god in our hearts. And since you've already guessed it, I won't hide it from you. The reason we want to refine the reincarnation pill is indeed to save the patriarch. For the sake of the Qilin clan, the clan leader has done his best. Therefore, we will also die for him. As long as you can cure the clan head, our Qilin clan is willing to pay any price. Right now, our only hope is for the clan head to wake up safely. This is also the wish of all the clansmen of our Qilin clan. Now, it's all up to Ling Ruoxue to help us realize it. After a pause, Hui Yu continued. Don't worry, Shuer will do her best. We must have faith in her. Uncle Long encouraged. Yes. Hui Yu nodded. It was confident in Ling Ruoxue's alchemy skills, but it could not help but be worried. However, with Uncle Long's comfort, it felt much more at ease. By the way, how did the Qilin clan leader get injured? Uncle Long continued to ask. It's all because of that bitch, Rhyme. Hui Yu said through gritted teeth. His eyes were still burning with raging flames, which were almost tangible. The Qilin clan chief who was injured by Wu Yan. Uncle Long was shocked. Could Wu Chen defeat the Qilin clan leader at that time? Yes, that bitch is very despicable. She set a trap to capture the little prince of our Qilin clan and even used the little prince to threaten him. However, the clan leader was not threatened for the sake of the Qilin clan. However, he was still worried about the little prince and was distracted. I really hate it. At that time, my strength was too low and I couldn't help the patriarch at all. If it were now, we definitely wouldn't let Wu Yan's plot succeed. Hui Yu roared indignantly, and it was so angry that all the fur on its body stood up. This matter was the greatest humiliation to the Qilin clan. From then on, the Qilin clan began to cultivate, no longer willing to care about the affairs of the world. Other than occasionally showing their faces in the divine realm, most of the time, they were even more low-key than before. As a result of enduring hardships and trying to bite the bullet, the strength of the Qilin clan was now much stronger than before. This was also the main reason why Ling Ruoxue and the rest could see so many hierarch Qilin. It could be said that the hatred between the country and the family caused the entire Qilin race to be united like never before. All the Qilin were working hard to cultivate, and this result was naturally gratifying. Of course, there would occasionally be one or two idiots in the Qilin race, but it did not affect the overall situation. Don't worry, you'll definitely have the chance to take revenge, Uncle Long patted his shoulder and said. Yes. Hui Yu nodded heavily. At the moment, healing the clan leader's injuries was the most important thing for them. As long as the clan leader woke up, they would be able to deal with the fog. Uncle Long was well aware of the Fire Yu's thoughts. Hence, he did not take the opportunity to ask for an alliance with the Fire Yu. He believed that the Qilin clan would take the initiative to ask for an alliance once Shuer had successfully refined the reincarnation pill. The Qilin clan had yet to reveal their intentions, so they must have been testing them. As such, he couldn't say anything. Not only couldn't they say it, but they also had to find a way to show their strength. Thus, using fog as an excuse was the best choice. After that, the two top beasts, who had a common language, began to talk about rhyme without restraint. Of course, Uncle Long was the one who started it. Uncle Long started from the many times that they had fought with the rhyme ice. He believed that Fire Yu must have heard about these things. However, Fire Yu certainly did not know as much as he did, as he had been there in person. Therefore, he explained it in great detail. He even described every step, including how angry the rime ice was, vividly. Fire Yu was very excited to hear it. In his joy, Hui Yu also took the initiative to talk about the battle between his clan leader and Rime Ice. Since he had a common language with Uncle Long, Hui Yu naturally did not feel that the days of waiting were so difficult. At the same time, Leng Ruoxu's trial was in full swing. The amount of work required to refine the reincarnation pill was undoubtedly huge. To Leng Ruoxue and the rest, this was definitely a challenge. Chapter 2755 Mother 1. Even though the reincarnation pill required a large amount of herbs, it was fortunate that the amount was not large. Even so, it would take a long time to melt all the herbs within the effective period. During Leng Ruoxue and the others' first trial, they had spent 3 days just to melt the herbs. In the end, their first trial had ended in failure. After their first failure, Leng Ruoxue and the rest were not in a hurry to start the second trial. The 4 top-notch alchemists sat quietly in the corner of the room, pondering over every step of the previous pill refinement. In the end, they concluded that there should be a problem with the control of the fire. Although Leng Ruoxu's performance was already perfect, the reincarnation pill was different from ordinary healing pills. It had a high requirement on the control of the fire. It was also the first time Leng Ruoxue had come into contact with such a tedious refining process, so it was understandable that she had made some mistakes. However, Shen Nuo and the other 2 did not console Leng Ruoxue. After all, in their hearts, the failure rate of an alchemist was nothing. They also believed that Leng Ruoxu's ability to endure would not be so bad that she could not take it after just one failure. The truth proved that they understood Leng Ruoxue very well. Leng Ruoxue didn't take this failure to heart. She was only worried about the lack of herbs for the trial. Although the Qilin clan had given her quite a few medicinal herbs, she couldn't possibly waste them all, right? With this thought in mind, she became even more cautious in the following trials. After that, he continued to experiment a few more times, and all of them ended in failure. However, even though he did not manage to concoct the real reincarnation pill, he accidentally concocted some other nameless medicinal pill. After that, when Shen Nuo and the other 2 top-grade pill refiners tested and verified it, the medicinal pill that he failed to concoct also had healing effects. Although it could not be compared to the legendary reincarnation pill that could bring one back from the dead, it was still much better than the well-known top-grade medicinal pill. With that, Leng Ruoxu's confidence was greatly boosted. The trial work continued. After an unknown period of time, when Leng Ruoxue had once again completed all the steps of refining the elixir and was patiently waiting for the elixir to be completed, she suddenly felt a sense of panic for no reason. When she opened the elixir furnace, she was surprised to find a purple gold elixir lying quietly in the middle of the huge elixir furnace. The purple gold pill was extremely beautiful. It was the size of a baby's fist and there was a faint glow on it. At this moment, a loud thunder suddenly came from the sky, and the purple gold pill became restless. Shuer, quickly protect the pill. It's the pill tribulation. All of a sudden, Shen Nuo shouted. Immediately after, the 3 of them quickly surrounded Leng Ruoxue to protect her, wanting to help her block the purple gold pill. But unexpectedly, the purple gold pill did not hide under their protection. Instead, it flew into the air and broke through the window. At this time, in the sky outside, in addition to the rumbling of thunder, a huge lightning bolt as thick as an arm also fell vertically and smashed on their courtyard wall, splitting it into 2. This deafening sound naturally attracted the Qilins' attention. For a moment, the Qilin clan's Qilin all scrambled to rush towards the direction of the lightning and thunder. When they arrived at Leng Ruoxu's courtyard and saw the scene above the courtyard, all of them widened their eyes in disbelief. Oh my god! What was the purple gold object that was spinning in the air and creating a huge vortex? And what was this thunder and lightning? The Qilin race were all pill refining idiots, so they naturally didn't know what the so-called pill tribulation was. In fact, they didn't even recognize that the purple gold object was a pill. The Qilin stared at the sky in a daze. When they saw the purple gold object that was obviously trying to challenge the lightning, all of them were speechless. If it were them, they wouldn't even dare to challenge the authority of nature. This nameless purple gold object was really bold. At this moment, when he saw Leng Ruoxue and the rest looking at the sky worriedly, Huiyu quickly walked up to them and asked softly, "Miss Leng, what is that purple gold object? What's going on? Wasn't he refining the reincarnation pill? Why did they suddenly cause such a huge commotion?" "Thanks, you don't recognize that purple gold object?" Hearing Huiyu's question, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but ask. "Ah. I should know." The Fire Yu was a little dumbfounded. It really didn't know him. What was this strange thing? Looking at Huiyu who was at a loss, Leng Ruoxue sighed softly, "This should be the reincarnation pill that I refined. However, before I could confirm it, the pill tribulation appeared. But this guy shouldn't be simple. Reincarnation. Reincarnation pill." The Fire Yu stuttered. It had never thought that the reincarnation pill Leng Ruoxue had concocted would be so terrifying. Could this pill really be eaten? Would there be any problems? Looking at Huiyu's worried expression, Leng Ruoxue patted its head as if she was coaxing a puppy. "It's too early to worry. Let's wait for this little guy to pass the pill tribulation first. If you can't pass the pill tribulation, the reincarnation pill you make will only turn to dust." "Oh." The Fire Yu unconsciously responded. Obviously, it was completely dumbfounded. At the same time, the lightning in the sky was even thicker than before. The sky above the Qilin clan's territory was completely covered by dark clouds. The dark sky made people's hearts heavy. In an instant, a bolt of lightning as thick as an arm descended from the sky. Unwilling to be outdone, the purple gold pill met it. After a long time, the lightning disappeared. The glow on the purple gold pill's body had also dimmed significantly. However, very quickly, the purple gold pill began to repair itself, and the glow on its body became even more dazzling than before. If it hadn't seen it with its own eyes, the Fire Yu would never have believed the truth in front of it. But now, it had to admit that Leng Ruoxue was right. This elixir was not simple. However, would such an extraordinary pill be willingly consumed by a human? Unfortunately, Huiyu didn't have time to think about it. The second lightning bolt struck down again. This time, it was at least half a circle thicker than the first one. Huiyu couldn't help but worry about the elixir that he had just refined. After all, it could be the reincarnation pill. The reincarnation pill was the hope of the Qilin clan. Of course, it didn't want anything to happen to it. After some thought, it was ready to help but was stopped by Leng Ruoxue. "I have to go help it," Fire Yu said urgently. "Don't worry, it can handle it on its own. If you help it, it will affect its spirituality," Leng Ruoxue reminded. "But what if it can't make it through? Wouldn't that be a waste of time?" Huiyu was very worried. Leng Ruoxue shook her head, "No matter what, this is something it should experience." From the way this purple gold pill rejected the protection of Shen Nua and the others, Leng Ruoxue knew that this little fellow was a very strong-headed one. Since that was the case, she naturally would not stop this little fellow from improving. After hearing what she said, although the Fire Yu was still a little worried, it did not strongly want to help. However, it kept walking on the ground, revealing the tension in its heart.